Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project.
These kids today, they don't understand electricity.
They don't understand electricity.
Thomas Edison, they don't know.
Well, Ed, we'll just go right into it, man. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, absolutely. Hey,
really appreciate it.
I just showed up to play with all the guitars, but we can talk too.
Yeah, we can talk too, and it's and I'm okay with you showing up for the guitars too. I'll take that. That's flattering. I appreciate that. That means a lot. Your
Dude,
voice.
if you're talking in the middle and while in the middle you're talking, I just start looking at stuff. This room, for somebody with attention deficit, is an utter freaking nightmare. Look, it's a Sex Pistols record cover. Look, it's a blinking light. You haven't interviewed too many epileptics, have you?
No.
Good call.
And some people have said you made a very room that is you won't get OCD guests on here. They will not walk into space.
I'm not comfortable. I'm OCD too.
Really?
Yeah, buddy.
You okay?
The fact that the 4 lava lights are not really perfectly laid out. Now, the elephant thing drags in Alabama, and that's cool, but it should be centered. And the fact that it's a Laney head and a Randall cabinet, I'm bothered by that.
Okay.
You got it right over here with the Marshall.
We do. How about behind you there? Did you notice behind you had the Laney full stack?
Good. Drag more into it.
Well, no, behind you the Laney full stack. And that's but here's the thing. That's a Tony Iommi head.
Okay.
A Tony Iommi cabinet, but not a Tony Iommi bottom cabinet. So that's not incongruence.
I was already put off by the different grill cloth. That bothered me.
Of course you were.
And that record is the record that made my dad and I almost accept each other's life choices. Kiss Alive too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You brought you together?
It was. I asked for it for Christmas one year, and Dad was having none of it. Mom, I don't know if Mom talked him into it or how that worked, but I know he didn't want me to get it.
Okay.
But I got it. And it was that record, Kiss Alive too.
No shit.
Absolutely, man. I just looked down. I'm like, oh yeah, Christmas. But I had all of his records, so I could listen to all of that stuff. But as far as my record, that was probably the first record that was mine.
Got it.
That didn't blend in with all the other stuff, the Righteous Brothers and the Ray Conniff Orchestra and the Bob Newhart comedy and Jonathan Winter comedy stuff. That was it, man.
I know that story. Mine's a little different, but basically the same. Same. Anyway, we probably echo that story with a million other kids from that era too.
Yeah.
Parents were terrified, right? Nice and saint in service, and it's the funny thing is getting to know Paul a little bit in those years.
Yeah.
Asking him those questions, they just laughed.
Oh no,
that was all biggest bullshit imaginable.
It was like, A, it's a joke. B, the parents don't get the fact that as soon as the parents bristle up, the kids are more bound and damn determined to get the record.
That's exactly right.
I only marginally wanted it until my dad hated it. And once that record came in the house, then other records...
It was the gateway.
...could start coming into the house, yeah.
They had a great gatefold on that record, though. And
absolutely,
that gatefold is legendary.
Back in the day when it actually required literacy to work to a record. A Roger Waters record. What does this mean? Read the book, dude. Radio Chaos. I don't get it. That's because you didn't read it.
I thought Rush was like that as a kid too.
Yeah.
Like the Rush stuff was so. I learned about Ayn Rand, that philosophy. Not that I really
Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah,
Atlas shut up.
I bring this book home, which I never really got far in it as a 13, 14-year-old kid, of course. But I brought it home because I was just curious what the hell that was. Pierre was from another planet.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, and the fact that was done live with 3 guys without loops, and it's like, okay, shut up. That's otherworldly. Just whether you dug the music or not,
right?
Just what technically and physically in a linear process was going on when they're in concert. That's sick. Now, Pink Floyd took it even bigger and on a more grand scale, but Pink Floyd had more going on than just three dudes up there from Canada.
They did.
Yeah.
You had sort of the Canada thing in there too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
They are from Canada.
Absolutely.
But they broke in Cleveland, right? That's what Chris.
Well, Canada South. Yeah, they took a swim. They pulled. Yeah, look, we can do this. It's Cleveland. What are they going to know the difference? I love Cleveland. My last vacation, I went to Cleveland.
Really?
I swear to God.
You went to vacation in Cleveland?
Yeah.
Okay.
We talked off air. I have no life. Right? Yeah, I did. I went to Cleveland. I love Cleveland, and I love Cincy. I worked in Cincy for a little bit, and I think the world of both those places.
Okay.
But it's all the stuff in between that makes me dumber and angrier every time I see it.
No shit.
Yeah. I'm good in Cleveland, and I'm good. Once I get to Cincy and get across the river to Fort Mitchell and all that, those places are great.
Yeah.
It's that stuff. It's Children of the Corn, but like the videotapes running at an even slower speed, and it's unsettling. But Indiana's the same way where my parents live.
Yeah.
It's just a different vibe. But
I find it interesting that as soon as you do cross the turnpike into Ohio, it is like going from land A to land B, just topography-wise, right away.
When you come up the hill, coming out of like Wheeling or Weirden, whatever, up the hill at St. Clairsville, when you come up that long hill, it flattens out.
Yeah.
And that's it until you get to Colorado. And it's just, that's it. What's the difference? Well, that plant grows in that state. It's either corn or soybeans.
Right.
Or you go from southern Indiana right across the Ohio River, it goes from corn and soybeans to tobacco.
Yeah.
If you get up towards the Fort Wayne area, closer to the upper Midwest Chicago vibe, now you're into pig farms. That's what it is. That's the place that feeds all of the other stuff on either end.
Yeah.
And it's a different vibe. And there are days that I miss that vibe, honestly.
Really?
Sure.
Okay.
Slower. Reality is going plenty fast enough.
Got it.
The ability to get a little bit mentally slower just by walking. Can you do that in Western PA? Can you walk out on your porch and things feel slower and more calm?
No.
I mean,
Pittsburgh
it's
getting
different.
Faster too over the last decade or two? Does it feel that to you?
Yeah, but that's good, isn't it?
I don't know.
I mean, all the politicians say, "Oh, well, the economy, and we're going to have businesses and moving
that's good,
forward."
But in terms of just the speed of life in general,
You're talking about sanity.
Yeah, maybe I am. Maybe I am.
Sanity. I saw something on TV once, and as I age, I believe it's more and more plausible. I don't know that it's true, but I believe it's more and more plausible. If we're not careful, all of the things that we own can end up owning us. Mm-hmm. And it's a difference between need and want.
Yes.
We were talking before about new cell phones.
Yeah.
All right, you need a cell phone. It bothers me that I say that, but in today's world, you need a smartphone.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You don't need the newest one as soon as it comes out. The difference between need and want. Mm-hmm. We got really deep and heavy all of a sudden. We went from Kiss Alive 2 to esoteric BS.
Kiss, the least esoteric band probably ever. Them and Motorhead, right?
Let's make no bones about it. We're not here to have anyone think deep. Here's 3 chords. Here's a blood capsule. Fire, off we go.
So I know you will be uncomfortable with this. I know you don't want these accolades, but you are part of my musical story in this town.
Really?
Your voice.
Does that get me a guitar off the wall?
Anyways, Ed, you're part of my musical story in this town.
Turned into a carnival show.
He's breaking the mics. He's coming.
Well, I don't get a toy. I'm just going to start smashing stuff.
But your voice, man, just right. And I always go to DVE. You've had plenty of other career escapades here in town, but I go to that era in DVE where it starts for me way back with Jimmy Roach and Steve in the 70s.
Steve,
yeah,
right.
And it just all the way through to Paulson.
And then Paulson got involved and mucked the whole thing up. I'm going to send him a link to this.
Scotty said that.
I said it. You still owe me $8 from Bradenton, bro.
My goal is to get him on here eventually, too.
Who, Paulson?
When he comes into town. Yeah.
Dude, you know the rule. You want some media person to show up? Tell him there's food. That's it. If you've got a press conference, and well, this is important. We got to get it's a sewage treatment bill. How do you get? We got to get covered. The lesson estimate. Tell them there's a deli ring, and if you want them to never leave, tell them there's an open bar. Media will show up. You know that.
Well, it's funny. I also wanted to get in touch with Ron Cook. Ron happens to be my favorite. That old snarky way he has, I love it.
Yeah.
And Paul Alexander was like, "Well, if you let him know that there might be some cold beer, he may appear."
What am I telling you? What am I telling you? You want a media any kind of presence?
Yeah.
Food, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, deli ring.
Now I'm learning.
Yeah,
deli ring. That's
deli
easy.
ring.
I can do that. I can place it right in the middle of the table too.
Deli ring and then open bar. They'll never leave.
I'm not sure that's entirely good.
No, I can tell you firsthand it's not. But I'm just, if that's what you're going for, that's how you do it.
All right, I want your story as much as you want to reveal it, the comfortable deep dive to a degree. But before that, because we're already talking rock.
Sure.
You're a guitarist.
I am a crap guitarist.
I kind of probably am too to most people that have heard me play. But it did occupy a good part of my life. I still am in love with the instrument.
Oh, yeah. First time I saw a Gibson flame top Les Paul, I still remember where I was.
Well, do tell, where were you?
I was in 8th grade music class, and one of the guys in class stole it from his brother's room and brought it in for show and tell.
He got his ass beat.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he came back Monday and had a black eye. He got the snot kicked out of it.
I'm sure.
But we weren't allowed to touch it. But open the case, and that's the first time I ever saw one in person.
Wow.
It's still one of the most beautiful things. I'm that way with cool guitars, and I'm that way with bicycles.
Okay.
Those are my two things as far as just the aesthetics that are available, much less the functionality. You get on down the road with that.
Okay.
There have been beautiful guitars that played like crap. Same thing with bicycles.
Most of them.
That's because the R&D and the money went into making them look groovy rather than to making them with straight necks.
That's actually kind of how I made my money. Aesthetics were a very important part of what we did.
Yeah, I know. Is that neck straight? No, but look at that finish. It's sparkledy. It's crooked. Play slide.
Gibson went through a little era of that. I say that as a fan of Gibson guitars, but there was a period of time. But in rock and roll in general for you, when you were young, we did that story about your dad. It's great because I can relate.
Right.
What was the first rock record that you had to have, or the first band that really turned you on, like, holy shit, this isn't my parents' music?
Wow. It would have probably been, at the time, it wasn't even one band, and it wasn't even one title for the movement. You know this in the media. If there's something new, well, we got to come up with a name for it so that way we have a headline to post, right? It wasn't even called punk. It was called New Wave. Okay. You remember New Wave?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The first two Police records were considered New Wave. Gary Newman was New Wave. Blondie was New Wave. The Cars, or not the Cars, what was it? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was this new, basically, it wasn't nasty. It was punk attitude, but you could actually play your instruments a little bit.
It was more palatable to parents, maybe?
There was more to it. Joe Jackson.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Good stuff. Good stuff there.
It was the attitude of punk, but it had the lyrical content.
Like Adam Ant, things like that.
That was a little bit dancey. I was a word
U2?
person. The first U2 record, absolutely. And that got into textures and tones a little bit. That wasn't just That wasn't just Dead Kennedys. That wasn't just the Sex Pistols.
That's a great album. That's a great rock and roll album.
Velvet Underground.
Yeah, I was going to say Lou Reed. You have to like Lou Reed if you're a wordsmith, right?
New York is still one of my all-time favorite records.
Me too.
I was telling
89 or something.
Yeah. Last Great American Whale was on that. Dirty Boulevard was on that.
Dirty Boulevard.
The Jonathan Cale record that he did, I was just talking about this the other day, the Songs for Drella, that they got back together, Reed and Cale, for the tribute to Andy Warhol.
Yep.
Those things were cool. Harry Chapin, all of that wordsmith stuff. And then there are guys that are still doing that. Todd Snyder is as important to our current society as John Prine was to my last 30 years.
Yeah.
There are guys.
John just passed.
COVID. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
But there are guys still doing it. Jeff Walker just passed away.
Mm-hmm. So lyrical content and words big with you,
which explained the Kiss Alive 2 record, certainly.
All American Man, right? Which is a great track. So that's interesting, though. So let me ask you about Rush. Were you interested in Rush?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you deep into them?
As deep as I could be before all my other non-Rush buddies showed up.
Okay.
And I mean, there was a geek factor to it. I had a roommate I had a roommate at when I was at Purdue. Rush and Star Trek. And that was his world. Those were the posters on his wall, okay? This cat graduated with 2 different degrees from Purdue in 3.5 years.
Damn.
And he had the Starship Enterprise on his wall. I love him, Kurt. He's in Atlanta now. I love you, Kurt. Rush showed me that it didn't have to be 3 minutes. Remember the punk stuff?
Fucking right.
It was like, okay, 2 minutes at most. Don't have to purely... Creativity-wise, it was great because everybody that heard it said, well, crap, I can do that. Mm-hmm. That's the old line about the first Velvet's record. It sold 100 copies, but everybody that bought one went home and started a band.
Right.
And it was like, I can do that.
Right.
But it went further than just, oh, look, I can do that. It's like, these guys are exploring a little bit.
It took you on a journey.
Yeah. It was something...
But like, why did that? He's gonna bust the place up before we're all said and done. You can leave that off if you would like.
Oh no, dude. The OCD, it's going back on. I told you, great. If you had the damn lava lights lined up perfectly, this crap wouldn't be happening.
If I had all the lava lights on that are in this room, if you look, there's 4 of them up there too, hidden away. If they were all on, we would bake in here. Like we would freaking bake in here. But Rush, though,
thank you for getting back to Rush.
Why did they? Mm-hmm. Why did they resonate with a whole group of rock fans that Yes missed? Yes was popular, but Yes missed those Rush fans.
For me, I liked Yes. I liked Rush better. Rush rocked the hair more and had a little bit less of that symphonic thing going on. Well, it didn't. It had the same symphonic stuff going on, but it was doing it in a less polished process.
Okay.
Kind of like my biggest issue with disco, besides the fact that it was of the devil, was it wasn't something relatable. It was so smooth and polished and finished and glossy and
plastic almost.
Yeah, there was not, was it pretty? Yes. But it was shallow. Yeah, and Yes,
shallow.
And Yes certainly wasn't shallow, but Yes had, there was a certain polish to it.
Yeah.
Where you felt like, okay, Rush,
There's too much going on with Yes for me. Like there's
well, it's that symphonic sound. It's that the strings come in over, and that's great. Moody Blues the same way.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I saw the Moody Blues in concert. I liked them a lot more after I saw them.
Okay.
They rocked out more than the stuff you would hear on the radio.
Me to sleep.
Well,
the studio stuff, it just doesn't do much for me.
Right, but Rush rocked, and there was the straight up. That's 3 guys.
It's unbelievable.
They must be pretty good. That bass player's playing that bass line, and I was just starting to get into bass at that point, and I'm like, well, I can do that. Okay, no, I can't.
Wait.
Yeah, and he's also playing crap with his feet at the same time, right?
Yeah. I mean, that was a whole. But for me, I'm sure a similar situation for you. We're roughly the same age. At an 11, 12, 13-year-old boy hearing 2112, mind just explodes.
Temples of Syrinx.
Just the whole thing.
When I heard first time I heard that.
Actually, a little scary when you put the headphones. You sit alone in your room in the dark and listen to 2112 with headphones on.
It depends.
That's a little scary, right?
Well, if you hung out with the guys in the army jackets back behind the gym, it was just fine, though, wasn't it? This is trippy, man. I like this.
Yeah.
You guys see Rush rocked like Rush. You could crank it up if you were cruising with your buddies in the car, and it had enough of a bottom end on it. Yes, you'd crank it up if you had a date in your car, maybe. It just not bad, just different.
Just not Caressa Steel. That was the one record. I have to share this with Eddy Crow. midlife years ago as a single man. I was going back out there dating again, and I had a buddy of mine that happily married guy giving me a single guy advice. He goes, dude, you gotta find a woman who's good looking and she's wearing a Rush Caress of Steel t-shirt. If you find that woman, that's the one. I looked at him like, are you fucking serious? Are you really serious?
Well, you should buy a shirt and then walk around, and it becomes this weird Canuck demented Cinderella slipper trip, right? Put the shirt on. I want to see how you look in this.
That would have been a good idea.
That's good behavior at a mall. That's funny. You need to find a chick.
That's the unicorn, man.
That's got a Zeppelin 4 tattoo, man. She's soulmate.
Yeah, you go to a Rush show, and the band would say,
"There's not a lot of chicks back in the day."
And you go, oh, but I got even a funnier story. Years ago,
if you're looking for a scrawny, long-haired, dark-haired, really pale guy that's into computers and RC modeling, then that Rush theory would work out perfectly for you.
And air drumming.
Is he epileptic? No, he's Neil Peart.
Wait. Before I digress, I see that Zach Wilde picture that I took years ago of Black Label Society, and I was at that particular show.
That's a good guitar, too.
Yeah, the Bullseye.
The Bullseye.
And I was talking to band members. I was talking to John, their bass player, and we were talking about life on the road. Mm-hmm. And I made the comment to him, me being a newbie, I said, so man, what's it like out here? The women have to be unbelievable. And he's deadpan faced me, Eddie, he goes, you just were at the show, right? And I go, well, yeah.
Yeah.
He goes, well, you were in the pit shooting the show, right, Eric? I go, yeah. I guess, did you turn around at all? And I said, I was kind of afraid to turn around. I guess, well, trust me. Yeah. When I play a show, it's awesome. I love what I do. I feed off the energy. But when I look out there, it's like the fight scene of the Lord of the Rings.
Right on, man. Yeah.
That's what he said to me. The fight scene of the Lord. He goes, there isn't a snowball's chance in hell that I'm finding romantic love anywhere. It's not happening.
I'm going to a Black Flag show. Maybe I'll meet a nice girl. Absolutely. Lee Ving will hook us up. He'll officiate our wedding. Yes.
That's so stereotypical.
Dude, you were in the same crowds I was in. That's what those crowds were.
Pantera's crowds were scary.
Yeah.
I had that. It was funny. I talked to Chris about rock got angry in the early 90s.
Some of it did. Not all of it.
No, but some of it did. And I was like, I saw Sabbath and Pantera open for Sabbath at the arena on a makeup date in '99.
Okay.
And
I saw that.
You saw the Sabbath, and I was at the PNC box. I was in the luxury box looking down upon the unwashed masses.
I think I was the unwashed mass.
Okay. Well, my thing was, you could tell the Sabbath fans and you could tell the Pantera fans because the Sabbath fans, they walked to the back of the floor while Pantera was on, and they were just going crazy.
You guys do what you do.
And then the Sabbath fans made their way toward the front, and everybody just stood there, shared a doom, and watched the show.
We're here for the music. We're not here to get our teeth knocked out with somebody's forehead.
But it didn't seem Chris was like, really, I was impressed. He was like, I didn't think that was a big deal.
Well, but Chris is a rock chick.
And I was just like, holy, that scared the shit out of me.
Chris is a rock chick.
No doubt.
Chris is fearless, dude.
No doubt.
Chris and I shared an office for, 6 years. Chris is fearless.
No doubt, man.
If I got to go into a knife fight, she's on my short list.
That's who you need people like that.
Hey, Chris, help a brother out. She's like, where are you at? All right.
All right, let's take it back with you. So, when you talked about the first type of music that really resonated, you're telling me that it wasn't really rock and roll, it was new wave. That's what you identified
Actually,
with?
The first music I ever, and this is retroactive, you know this, as you get older, you realize you learned stuff earlier that you didn't know you learned earlier.
Right.
The earliest music that resonated with me, I'm still learning, was church music.
Okay.
Gospel music, where I grew up in the church. That was the first music, and I got back to that later. When I got back into the Lyle Lovetts and things like that.
Yeah.
All of that I had learned without knowing I learned, all of that stuff came back.
Okay.
The Staples and Mavis Staple, all of that Southern spiritual stuff.
Okay.
That I grew up hearing on radio in my in my uncle's car.
Okay.
That came back. For me, my own. And, when you're a kid, well, that was stupid. It must be stupid because I didn't figure it out. I just was immersed in it. Then it became the punk and the new wave. Yeah.
So you missed early 70s.
I hated early 70s
you
radio.
Big Stones and Who.
That was before my time, though. I came back later and got a hold of that. Early 70s, I was a little kid. Yeah. All I'm hearing on the radio is garbage. I got a brand new pair of roller skates. You got a brand new key. Run, Joey, run. Shannon is gone again. Drifting out to sea. It's a song about a dog, man. What 8-year-old's going to sit and go, ooh, this is neat?
She went riding wildfires.
All of that. Anything Michael Martin Murphey touched, dude. Don't go breaking my heart. It was all, and even as a little kid, not knowing nothing about nothing, I knew that was not good for me.
Yeah, me too.
That music, there is nothing about this.
I got it, man.
I'm not going to need any puppy love lyrics later on in my life.
So Donny Osmond was lost on you.
There was a Marie. Marie had a thing going on with me when I hit puberty for a little bit.
Of course.
It had nothing to do with Jimmy or any of the others. That was
little Jimmy.
They dragged Jimmy out on the show. And here's Jimmy. He made it another week. Yay, Jimmy. Every Mormon on the planet just went Twitch.
You think? I still can't believe that came out of the Mormon community. If you really think about that, that was so risque for the Mormons.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, now we're getting political.
Well, I mean,
here's the deal, though.
John Smith was a little risque in the beginning of it, right?
Which set of plates did you read? I don't know. Whittle them down. Just say don't do bad stuff to people, but you can have as many wives. Go with that. Is that what Ephi? Yeah, that's her name. But that was a good example. If you're a part of a community that's not the norm,
right,
and you've got an opportunity to put forth a wholesome image and say, yes, this represents us.
Yeah.
That's going to help you.
Okay, yeah.
And maybe
no doubt.
you're this, and that scares me, and I don't understand it. But those nice family that sings on Sunday night, they're that. So, do you sing?
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
I just find it's funny that you say you kind of initially missed the Stones and the Who and Sabbath and
came
Zeppelin.
back later. No, it was definitely the punk rock before I retroactively.
So let's talk about my beloved Johnny Rotten here. So did you when you heard that album broke in England and they hit it? The story was that it was number one, but they weren't allowed to actually say it was number one. When it got here in any capacity, we weren't hearing it on local radio.
Oh no, there wasn't even at that point. There was no established underground. Now it's referred to as underground. At the time, it was like college radio.
Right.
These FM, the stations where you'd hear something like that, and then you'd hear a King Biscuit Flower Hour, or you'd hear a Superstar Concert Series, or you'd hear
Dr. Demento.
Dr. Demento was where you heard that stuff. That was not even there yet.
Yeah, so they were...
But that made people want it more.
Exactly.
Right.
And then they came to do the tour. It was a disaster. It was supposed to be... and everything just ended in San Francisco. Just died.
Yeah. But because of the punk ethos, that's what punk bands are supposed to do. It is. What bigger way to become a mythical figure in punk music than to die behaving like a punk musician?
I think they only had one record in them, and and this is my argument when people say, "Oh, I wouldn't listen to that stuff." My argument is, you probably number one haven't actually listened to the record, because if you like rock and roll, it's produced like a Kiss record. If you take the tracks, are almost interchangeable,
which helped hide the fact that they weren't very good.
No, well.
But
there's no bass on the record, I don't
think. That was one of the cool things about punk. Like I said with disco, that's so far the opposite of it's produced very, very well.
Yeah,
but most people aren't going to hear that. Most people are going to hear, oh my God, they can't play.
Yeah, and then the voice
and
is
the voice,
odd.
yeah. It's like they can't sing, they can't play. That's horrible. That was part of the punk thing too. You'd listen to a punk record and say, man, I can kind of do that. And it became like a second tier of creativity. You didn't listen to the Sex Pistols because you liked it. You listened to the Sex Pistols to give yourself an idea to sort something else out yourself. Velvet Underground was the same way.
Yeah. So I missed the Pistols. I got the Pistols many, many years later, and I'm like, how did I really not listen to the record? Mm-hmm. I just dismissed it as being them spitting on each other or whatever the fans did. Or I didn't know.
Now, the Pistols I loved. Afterwards, what was the thing, Johnny? A Pill.
Oh, you didn't like Pill.
I felt like they tried to disco up the Pistols.
They might. Yeah. That thing evolved over time.
Yeah,
though.
It did.
Yeah, it evolved over. I find him a fascinating human being because he lives a very unvarnished life. He just says what he thinks. He doesn't care what anybody thinks.
He's a guy that
he's authentic.
He is at peace with who he is, and if you're cool with that, okay. And if you're not,
fuck you.
Okay. It's like I have to be the one to fall asleep at night, so that's how I'm going to go about it.
Did you see any of the they had a couple of reunions. I thought the 2007 reunion was pretty impressive. Like they was tight. It wasn't typical Pistol stuff.
They were functional.
In terms of like live, you mean?
In terms of like what they had been before.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. I'll give you that.
They were, and there's nothing wrong with that. There are a lot of bands making a lot of money that I don't look at and think they're particularly functional.
To me, they're the only band I've ever seen that got away with using the C word on national television.
Yeah.
When they Pretty Vacant, they actually would use the English slang version of the word vacant and say the C word, and they got away with it on Leno. Was it Leno? It was Conan O'Brien. It was all the big three, and they got away with it. And I thought that in and of itself had to be something.
It's safe harbor, right? After 9 or 10 o'clock?
I guess.
I mean, you can still take grief for it, but technically I think after a certain point at night, those words are not impermissible. They're just
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
They're frowned upon.
So is it an unwritten rule then?
No, there was a set time after such and such. But nobody would want to be the ones to get called that out, right?
Cross over.
Right. It's like the episode of South Park where they're going to say the S word, and they keep track of how many times they said it in building up to the network saying it. And it's just, it's another word, man.
Yeah.
Just like the difference, the word you just referenced.
Yeah.
Over in this country.
Britain.
Right. That's a word, hey, you stupid, you know what? It's no big deal. And it's all about where you're at and what that word means. More importantly, what somebody older than you at some point when you were a kid told you that word means.
Yeah.
And there's an example of that.
Women don't really dig it in this country.
You know what? I don't either.
It's a really, I don't say it on a daily basis. But
here's the deal. If that's the best you can do to express yourself,
right.
I'm not particularly interested in hearing what you got to say. Now, don't get me wrong. I can string them together, okay? I can. But if that becomes a part of normal society and conversation, there's no exclamation point that comes with those words when you want exclamation points to come to those words.
Right.
Come up with a better way, not a better way, but a more clear way to say it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, if you happen to not care for the young man.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
I heard a business philosopher I used to listen to, Jim Rohn, had a great statement about swearing. He says, because I'm not for it, against it, I'm not making a value judgment. I will just tell you, if you use it haphazardly in your day in, day out business,
right.
when you do use it and really need it, you need the gravity of it, it won't be there.
It's not there.
But the father that never swears and gets really angry and needs to say it to his child, the child will get the message that the father is pissed off.
Right. It's like you crossed into a new, honest to God, maybe 3 times in my life have I heard either one of my parents use a curse word.
Right on. Me
Absolutely.
Too. I can say that too.
I can tell you all 3 times it was warranted. And they were absolutely.
What did you do?
It paints a much quicker picture of the gravity of your situation.
Okay.
It's like, well, he threw a wrench. I'm in medium trouble. Oh, did you hear what he just said? It's way bigger trouble.
Okay.
So yeah, you lose the gravity.
Okay.
Those words are like any other words. They're tools in your vocabulary and your arsenal.
Use them discriminately.
But if you use them all the time, you turn into a slow-witted paint by numbers dialogue.
And then no one takes you seriously, because I think people tune you out. They get to the point where they're just not hearing you anymore. And I will tell you that I have some really amazing friends that over the years that have been good people, but if you sit back and listen to them, like the F word was coming out almost like every 2 sentences, not in a mean way. It was just part of it was an adjective.
It's a versatile word.
Yeah, it's probably the most versatile words imaginable.
It's a noun, it's a verb, it's an adjective, it's the occasional gerund. Yeah, it's a versatile word.
Yeah,
but
So back to your story here. So you go through high school and you decide you're going to college. You said Syracuse?
Syracuse.
Where'd you go? You went? Maybe I didn't hear that right. Syracuse.
This interview's over.
I didn't know I thought you told me Syracuse.
University of Alabama.
So that's the reference.
I'm not even
Crimson Tide.
Dude, you got it wrong twice. You mentioned the wrong school that has the same colors as the school I hate, Auburn.
Oh, that's right. Them's fighting words down there. So how did you end up there? How'd you end up?
What do you mean? Well, I was born in Alabama.
I know.
Right.
But I mean,
that's where I wanted to go to school.
My point is, you have
I was SMRT.
You have two big choices in that state. So how did you end up there and not Auburn?
When you're born in that state? Well, at the time, I went to like the end of grade school and high school in southern Indiana. Southwest Indiana, okay. So that's where the confusion kind of headed back. That's where Purdue comes in. That's later down the line of the drinking. When you're born in Alabama, you're and it don't matter if you're a boy or a girl. It ain't pink and blue down there. It's crimson or orange. I mean, you're born into that. Okay, and that's one of the two places that everybody. And remember. Well, Alabama still doesn't, but at the time, what other football was there?
Yeah.
The Atlanta Falcons existed. They were garbage. The Saints, poor
you don't have to say anymore.
Poor Archie Manning still having twitches from that career. There was no pro football. Nashville, there was no Nashville. They were the Houston Oilers. Yeah. Alabama football and Auburn football. Everything. That's it, man. Yeah. The sidewalks roll up on Saturday.
That was pro football.
That bigger than pro football. Yeah, absolutely bigger than that.
And from that era to now, it's even bigger.
More money. A lot
of success too.
You know what the highest paid state employee of the state of Alabama is? Nick Saban. He's a state employee.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
That's true?
If you work for the university, you are a state employee. The university it's the state, man.
I get it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And he's doing all right.
He's doing all right.
He don't even live in Tuscaloosa. He lives across the river in Northport, man. But they also did the math. For every $1 million they pay him, that program brings in 15 or 20 million.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, they know what they're doing down there.
Yeah.
All right, so you're at University of Alabama.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Mm-hmm. Now I get the elephant reference. It's all tying together. Where
it does eventually, if you don't drift off. If I remember to go back to it, Hi, elephant.
I should have said him right over here. I could have done that.
And then you'd have some Auburn fan watching this getting all wound
getting
up.
all pissed off.
Yeah, your coach didn't know the 3 branches of government. Shut up. Offense, defense, special teams, coach. And you're a congressman, senator? What is it? Rock on.
Well, when you were in college, what was your goal outside of just finally figuring out a way to graduate, I'm sure?
What was my goal?
Yeah, your goal.
I had no idea.
What did you want to do?
I had no idea.
No idea at all?
No clue.
Even when you graduated?
No clue.
Interesting.
I know what I was supposed to do. I know what I studied
to do. What did they want you to do?
Well, had I gone about my career path, you mean?
Yeah.
At this point, I guess I'd be teaching haikus to college students. I'd be something with English, something with writing, American literature, creative writing.
That's what they wanted you to do.
That's what I was going to school thinking. Yeah, I'd like to do that.
And when did you decide that wasn't for you?
When I stood in line at a college bookstore and the guy in front of me had on a set of headphones, rocking the Walkmans, right? And I can hear the music. And I was so unbelievably arrogant about my musical taste, like we all are. Well, you don't know about that record. I know about that record. And I can hear what he's listening to. I'm like, how's he know? That's a cool, I love that band. How does he, nobody knows that band. And we start talking about music. And he's like, dude, we play this every afternoon at the college radio station.
Okay.
And you can get a credit hour if you come do it. Really? So, and that got me at a college radio station.
Okay.
And
okay.
It was Sanity Assassin, maybe. It was a Bauhaus song. It was a Bauhaus record, but it was not Bela Lugosi's Dead.
Okay.
But it was Bauhaus, and I remember to listen. And my first job, 3 hours a day, 3 days a week for the semester. You got 1 credit hour. It was called a practicum, I guess, right?
Okay.
I listened. I ran the board for 2 hours of Symphony Hall, and from 10 to the top of each hour, I would do news and sports. I would do 7 minutes of news, 3 minutes of sports, and the records laid out, had a cue sheet, and the guy that did the show would record the opens and closes on cart. So top of the hour, I pressed the button, the announcer guy would announce this record, Shostakovich or Bela Bartok, right? Start the record. When that record would stop, hit the cart to buy time to flip the record over to play the second half. And 3 hours a day, 3 days a week.
Wow.
And I learned a lot. Dude, it was so cool because I was learning about music. I had never been exposed.
Yeah, I bet.
This guy, the guy that hosted the show, was a local TV guy.
Okay.
And his name was Broad Seymour.
That's a good.
Very spectacular name, dude.
That's a broadcasting name.
And he looked and acted just like his name sounded. He was a Blazer guy, right? Remember Cool Cat Sammy Nover?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If Sammy Nover had been about 6'7",
okay,
same guy.
Okay.
But Broad was Polish. His original name was Seymour Brodsky. His parents came over literally after World War II. His parents came over from Poland, so his trip,
great.
any chance to get Eastern European classical. It wasn't just Beethoven and Bach and this German guy, and that it was really good because I had to sit in the room to make sure the record didn't skip. So I'd sit there and listen to it, and then this is cool, and then read out loud for 10 minutes and start the next record.
And that was a process compared to today, which is everything's going completely digital now.
Oh yeah, no, this was 3 different or 4 different pieces of sound recorded onto a cart, which it looks like an 8-track.
Yeah.
If you play the first one by mistake, that means you got to go all the way through to get back. Otherwise, stuff's out of sequence. And you learned that again, that linear process of. There's the open. This is the first side. There's the segue. The second side is a different record, so put it over here and make sure.
Right.
And that's where I learned if something goes bad right now, what's the first thing you reach for? You're talking about studio work?
Yeah.
If something breaks, if the music stops, if the mic goes dead, if the headphones go crap, what's the first thing you do? Plan ahead and go, okay, I will do this. A whole lot easier to stay unpanicked in a studio, especially if you're running a zany, stupid, dumbass morning zoo, Dingo and the Baby stuff where there's sound effects on this and phone calls, and it can get a little squirrely if you don't plan ahead.
Because something invariably always will go wrong.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, something's not going to work. If you don't have 2 of everything on a live show, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Okay.
Yeah, always. You need cables. How many? No, you need more than that.
But yeah. My guitar tech friend Fred goes, when I travel for bands, he goes, we need 12 cables for this show. I have 24.
That's right.
And I've doubled everything.
Absolutely.
Bottles of water, I have doubled.
As soon as you don't have stock and redundancy, that's when the crap's going to break.
Okay.
Always.
All right. So you introduced the college radio. You graduate University of Alabama. Now what?
What do you mean now what?
You just didn't wake up.
No, that was my attitude. I'm like,
no.
Then went to Purdue, more school.
Okay.
Same trip. Played soccer at Purdue.
Okay.
And that's mostly what my best friend from high school was at Purdue.
You going for a master's there?
Yeah. And that was
You were scholastic, like
I was a lot of things I'm not. That was the play. That was to go. One, get closer to home.
Okay.
Two,
makes sense.
My fiance had broken up with me. I almost got married when I was at Alabama.
Okay.
And that, oh dear God, thank you, Jesus. Oh, do you know what a bowhead is?
No.
This is going to put some people off. I don't care.
Okay.
A bowhead. They exist in the Southwestern Conference, but their native region is the Southeastern Conference.
Okay.
A bowhead is the girl you see walking down the street on campus next to Bryant Denny Stadium. She's got on a sleeveless sundress. She's carrying her books up here. She's got on a pair of tree-torn brand tennis shoes, and she has a bow in her head, and the color of the bow corresponds to whatever color her sorority house's flowers in the front yard are.
Okay, I get the picture.
That's a bowhead.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Oof. Bowheads. I can't even go down that road.
You're trying to say you escaped.
Her dad.
Shotgun weddings down there, right?
No. I met her dad, and the second I met her dad, I knew it was like, this is done. This is done. Because at the time, first off, I wasn't where I mentioned Northport. Northport's a little even smaller town than Tuscaloosa, right out across the river, Black Warrior River. She went to school. She was born and raised in Northport. She went to school, private Christian academy in Northport. Her graduating class was like 11 people. Okay, and I'm no exaggeration. The entire school, K through 12, was like 110 people or something. Okay.
Okay.
So everybody in her life had been in this place her entire time, and here I come, and my hair's not like the other boys, and I wasn't from there. And I had an earring, and I met her dad, and I didn't know what he did.
Okay.
And you can tell you're dating someone. So what's your dad do? Oh, he works. It's like, all right, there's an issue. I met her dad, and I said, so, Mr. H, what do you do for a living? And he had 2 jobs. He did 2 jobs, right? Multitasking guy. He was a life insurance salesman.
Okay.
Respectable work. That was one job. He was a life insurance salesman, and he was a mortician.
Get the hell out of here.
No, dude. And my reaction was similar to yours, and that's not what he was looking for in his daughter's husband or beau. I thought he was joking. Wow. And I'm on my best behavior. I'm not being a jackass or nothing. We hadn't even gone for White Russians at the oyster bar like we usually did. And he said that, and I go, right? That was it, man.
Yeah, that probably ended it right there.
It was done.
That ended it.
And God bless you for your indignation. That's the same man that poked me with a rake.
He what?
I was asleep in his front yard.
He poked you with a rake?
I was asleep in his front yard, and that's how he woke me up.
Okay.
That was several months later.
He did you a favor.
Oh, hi. I don't know if you've ever woke up in the middle of somebody's yard in the middle of Alabama in the summer.
In Alabama in the summer, no.
That red clay sticking to the side of your face. Oh, hey. Get up. Mm-hmm. All right. You can't send this video to any. We're going to have to talk about editing, because there's got to be a lot. If he's still alive, I know there's a lawsuit.
Purdue.
I hope he's not still alive.
Purdue.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
Cold, man.
I bet.
Yeah, cold. I like that. The sport thing in Alabama was just not good, and there was no chance. But at Purdue, I actually got to do a little bit.
Soccer?
Yeah.
And you played that as a kid?
I didn't play it because it wasn't around. I played it in high school.
Okay.
And then I got hurt.
They had soccer in Alabama?
No, I went to high school in Southern Indiana.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Castle Knights.
That's right. They don't have soccer in Alabama.
No. There's only so much air in the atmosphere. They got to blow up all the footballs. Come on, man. Didn't you pay attention in earth science class? Yeah, soccer. And that was cool because again, my best friend had been going there, and he had talked to me. And he's like, dude, this other thing you got going on, why don't you come up here?
Right.
We're gonna, our team this year is not gonna be bad. And I go, okay, so, and we were bad, but I got to play and goalkeeper for Purdue.
Okay.
Yeah.
That 2 years, 3-year program.
Yeah, and that's why I can pop my thumb in and out of socket like
God
that.
Almighty! So
but that was fun. Mostly fun.
Okay.
I mean, I was an idiot.
Were you still doing broadcasting? Were you doing college radio?
No. Yeah, no. College radio came up then. At Alabama, there was none of that. At Alabama, I was busy with the bowhead and dodging daddy, and running until
front yard,
and running until the coach got tired of watching me puke. Yeah, it's pretty much. There's Alabama in a nutshell. What'd you do? I ran till I puked.
Yeah. All right, so you graduate in your master's, and then what?
I was a bum. No, that's not a joke. I was a bum. I had nothing, man.
You just kicking around? You didn't know what you wanted to do?
No, I had no idea.
Really?
Clueless.
Indifference.
Well, no, it wasn't indifference. You want to get serious?
Sure.
Not be a jackass?
Yeah, sure.
Mental illness.
Okay.
Yeah. Mental illness and just abusing yourself and self-medicating and not knowing why your brain didn't work like anyone else's brain.
Huh.
And that was what radio was. Because radio was the first place I remember clear as a bell. I can tell you every detail of it. The first meeting I sat, doing the college radio got me a job as a board op, right?
Okay.
All right. My first full-time radio job, I remember they called a staff meeting. And this is back in the day when a radio station, there was a staff.
Yeah, that meeting.
There was a couple morning guys. There was a midday person. There was an afternoon. There was a night. There was an overnight. There were 3 or 4 part-timers that did the weekend stuff, right?
Sounds like WKRP.
No, exactly. There was a staff. That was exactly it, really. And I remember sitting in, and they called a staff, and I'm the new guy, and they don't know me, and I'm sitting in the staff meeting, and I'm keeping my mouth shut, and I'm looking around, and for the first, and this is no joke, guaranteed, for the first time in my life, I looked around, it's like, I'm not the biggest mess in the room.
Okay.
It's like, I'm a mess.
Okay.
I got the bipolar, and I got the manic, and I've got the clinical, and I got all. My medical chart looks like somebody threw up a Scrabble board on it. Okay. I remember looking around, going, I'm a mess, but damn. And I connected. It's like, okay, that guy is a way bigger mess than me.
Okay.
In every way.
So you had a point of reference now.
But he still manages to have a job.
Yeah.
And that job's going on here. And all of these people, they're keeping a roof over their head. They're managing to not be homeless. And they're all at least as big a disaster as a human being as I am, right?
Okay.
But well, I can do this. I can make my first full-time salary was $3,000 less annually than the poverty level.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
But just the relative weirdness and acceptance of weirdness of it, it was a lot like KRP. Everybody had their own weird thing going on, but everybody around you was cool with that.
Yeah.
And nobody made any money. The PD was cool enough. This was also back when radio stations got service. If the new Van Halen record came out, we would get 4 boxes of CDs for Van Halen, right?
Right.
Every non-payday Friday, we got paid every other Friday. If it wasn't a payday Friday, he would let us go in the prize closet, and as long as we didn't take what he needed to give away and didn't take the last of something, we could snag one of whatever we got that week. And he knew we were going straight to the used bookstore on Fulton Avenue. And we were selling it. And we weren't selling it because we were trying to get over on anybody. We were selling it because, I got to go get a pack of bologna.
You got to eat.
But the mental stability was way worth it. That's when you find out real quick if you really want to do it. because a whole lot of people think radio is cool. If you think radio, or if you think TV or media, if you think it's cool because you get to meet people, or you get to go backstage, or you get concert tickets, or you get CDs, you will stop thinking it's cool.
Week one.
No, it'll make 5 or 6 months.
Okay.
The end of the concert summer season.
I bet.
If you dig radio for what radio is, you're talking about the craft and the function and the creative side, and what can be the creative side, if people let you do it, if they trust you enough to know that you'll do the work to do it.
Okay.
You don't care how much you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Do I got enough? I got enough gas? Dude, many payday Fridays. All right, it's payday. I can get my check, put enough gas in my car to start the next week.
Wow.
But hey, you didn't care. This was a blast.
But you loved it.
Yeah. The cool stuff was the cool stuff, but real quick, it was like, man, this is theater of the mind. I like this. This is
theater of the mind.
Yeah, well, Stan Freberg. It's Stan Freberg stuff, and it's Jonathan Winter stuff, and there's no limitation. If you can figure out a way to do it where you can keep people engaged, paying attention to it, you can be as weird and as creative, and as the avenues are endless if you do the work. And honestly, more importantly, if you work somewhere where they're willing to trust you enough to let you mess up, to learn how your craft works, to learn the timing of it, and to learn joke writing, dialogue, and all that stuff. And that's almost impossible to find. I've been really lucky. I've worked for a few people that basically said, just go do whatever you're going to go do.
Okay.
But you have to have a little bit of a track record with that.
Certainly.
Your first job in radio is not going to be, okay, well, there's a studio, you got 4 hours, do what you want. Right? You kind of have to chisel away to get those freedoms.
All right.
And it's much easier to say, leave me alone, let me do this, if you're doing okay, if the ratings are okay.
Okay.
All right. The worse the ratings get, the more people that don't know what the hell's going on want to become involved in it. Because the worse the ratings get, that's money. Those are the people that become involved. Now you've got the creative people staring up at the money people.
Business there.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
The difference between radio and corporate radio, two totally different planets. As far as the accessibility or the willingness,
especially in today's environment.
Oh, yeah.
Local radio versus like iHeart and radio.com, the corporations.
Right. It's, I want to say it was 89, whenever the deregulation hit, whenever you were allowed to buy up however much you wanted to buy up.
Yeah, bandwidth. Spectrum.
Radio stopped being run by radio geeks and started being run by banker geeks. Yeah. And I don't mean either term in a negative way, but that's what it was.
Right.
General managers stopped being guys that came up through programming, and general managers started becoming guys that came up through sales.
Got it.
Totally different point.
I get that completely. No doubt about that.
Man, there are places that still exist where I'm doing stuff right now.
Absolutely.
BVP, MBA, Beaver Falls.
That's a traditional
I'm left alone, dude.
I know.
It's brilliant.
It's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, I think the theory is we'll give him enough rope, right? But it's wonderful. There's so many things about that station.
Station's a throwback to a prior era almost, right?
Oh, before era. But 2 or 3 prior eras.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. Yeah. The notion that if I've got a question about something going on with programming, I don't have to send an email to anybody. I don't have to wait a week for an email to come back. I don't have to wait for a lawyer in a third city to say, well, yes or no to this.
Right.
Dude, where's the guy in charge? Okay, Mark, come here. Right? It's
a huge value.
Wonderful.
Yeah, huge value. Well, you've seen it because you've worked all sides of it. You know it. Was the first gig in Indiana your first paying radio gig?
Yep.
And what did you do at that job? Do you remember? What was your role there?
I was a fill-in part-time guy on a full-service AC station.
Okay.
WIKY, soft, easygoing favorites of yesterday and today.
That voice.
The cow sills for your drive this morning on an early, soggy Monday minivan mom target audience.
That's even before minivans, I think, probably.
They were just coming in. It was a cargo van that they stapled carpet to the roof. But yeah, that was the target audience, man. WIKY.
No shit.
Evansville, Indiana.
And how many years there?
5 months.
5 months. 5 months.
But that's because I got offered a job somewhere else.
And where was that?
That was in the same place, but that was the rock station where I did overnights. It was a house in the corner of a cornfield, a house that they had redone in the corner of a cornfield. And during the winter, every mouse and vole in that cornfield lived in the production room in this house. They would come in from there, and you'd go down the hall. On-air studio was at one end, production room. You go down the hall banging on the wall to make sure when you go in to do production, flip the mic or flip the lights on, you'd see mics just everywhere. And
wow.
that was...
in the middle of a cornfield.
Yeah, in Mount Carmel, Illinois, right across the river from Princeton, Indiana. Cornfields, man. There were 2 bars in that town. We drank at one of them.
and you broadcasted the other one.
No, dude, we didn't go near the other. The other one was a biker bar.
Ah, okay.
And we were in real good with the one bar that we drank with.
Okay.
We had no reason to expand our footprint.
Understood. What was the format? Like, what kind of rock and roll? Yeah.
Straight up 80s. If it was Van Halen,
cool.
All of that stuff. Well, until Nirvana came.
It killed everything.
No, it didn't kill everything. No, the good stuff that was good then is still good. The good stuff that was good then, but it turned out to be crap, that disappeared.
Okay, so a lot of your hair band music.
Yes.
Vixen.
Vixen. Winger.
Their first record was all right.
Y&T.
Y&T.
If the lead singer had big hair and spandex.
He's a badass, though.
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, now. The band itself, I get it.
In the rotation, the spots, on a 6-hour overnight.
Slaughter.
In those, oh, God.
Up all night.
Dude, who had the chainsaw song?
Oh, my God. What was that? Jackal.
Yes.
Fucking Jackal, man.
All of that stuff.
Couldn't sing.
Nirvana showing up made it a whole lot better,
so
though,
you were
dude.
Okay. You were receptive to that then.
What,
your personal
Nirvana?
taste, you were receptive.
Because
of college, everything up.
Yeah, because of college, it didn't sound like the same stuff, dude.
It sounded very punkish, you know.
I had 6 hours every overnight from midnight to 6 was my shift at WRBT Ribbit. It was the Frog. That was our mascot. 94.9 W Ribbit. Everything we did, we ripped off from WEBN in Cincinnati because at the time our consultant was the music director for EBN.
Okay.
And what that meant was all of the sound elements and the parts and the Ribbit sound effects and all that, we could get those free.
Got it.
So we became 94.9 The Frog, RBT Ribbit.
Okay.
But 6 hours, there would be guaranteed, there were going to be 4 Van Halen songs.
All right.
There were going to be 5 AC/DC songs. Mm-hmm. There were going to be 4 Zeppelin songs. Right. And nothing wrong with any of that. Mm-hmm. But when Nevermind came out, some of those Dokken slots and Trickster slots.
Trickster.
Yeah, all of those kind of went away.
Cinderella.
To be fair, what was, oh God, I'm drawing a blank.
They weren't bad.
No, there was one band that I thought I wanted to hate, and I saw them in concert, and they absolutely crushed. Nuno Betancourt's band.
Oh, Extreme.
Yeah.
Extreme. What a guitar player. Nuno.
I had no idea.
See, that was the deal.
Nuno. We're playing the songs. I'm like, and then they came to show. It's like, okay, these guys.
Yeah, there was something going on there.
Yeah, this isn't ridiculous,
There was something going on there for sure.
And being in the Midwest, there was going to be 4 Mellencamp songs.
Oh, yeah.
Being in the Midwest, there was going to be 3 or 4 Guns N' Roses songs because Axl was from Purdue, from Lafayette, right?
Yeah.
All of that changed with Nevermind, and it brought in a whole new thing. Yeah, yeah. It was just
okay. So
it was different.
All right, let's talk about that. So, because that's always a fascinating era for me. I come at it strictly from a metalhead, big Kiss fan my whole life, but big metalhead. And I would listen to, like, because when I would go see a Kiss show, they naturally would have Slaughter opening or Y&T or Rat or was this, so you knew of these bands, right?
You saw a buddy had a T-shirt, maybe,
and you knew
right?
of them, right? Yeah. Now, the funny part was for me was that what I did I liked Nirvana for the angst and for the mistuned instruments and all, because it reminded me of a certain era growing up 10 years earlier there, right?
Okay.
Now, I didn't really understand the whole, and we can talk about this. I'm sure you have an opinion on this. The labeling of genres being done by corporations,
Right.
but being pigeonholed in, like the grunge thing, I never understood, because to me, Soundgarden and Pearl Jam, and they were just good hard rock bands
they
to
rocked,
me.
yeah.
They wore flannels and boots, but
And they came from Seattle.
but the content of the music was so different than Nirvana. Nirvana was smash a bunch of Jaguars and sound like Johnny Rotten 10 years later. That I thought it was.
Right.
But Soundgarden was like Kim Thayil. That was a three-piece. That band and Chris Cornell's voice, there was some special stuff going on there. Right?
Yeah, it was not the same thing at all. And
So was it grunge to you?
No.
What was grunge to you?
Grunge was a marketing term.
Bullshit's what it was to me.
It's a marketing term. It's like, well, that's grunge. No, it's not. Why is it grunge? Because you say it is.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay.
Nirvana was Nirvana. That's why you got to be really careful, and I think we do this as a society because it saves us time. What's easier for most people? Do you like grunge? No. Well, that's a grunge record. You shouldn't listen to it.
Yeah.
Well, you just saved yourself time by dismissing something. You like grunge? Yeah. That's a marketing thing. Same thing, remember? We can't call it punk. We'll call it new wave. Even though it was Joe Jackson and Sid Vicious are two horribly different musical people, right?
Yeah.
But it's about marketing.
One was a heroin addict that couldn't play bass.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I can play bass. Anyone can. But it's when you would go to the record shop.
Yeah.
You know, you'd go through the ABC and find specific bands, but then you would go well, here's the pile of A stuff. It's in the grunge section.
Yeah.
It's in the hard rock section.
I couldn't find what the fuck I wanted. In the early 90s, you go to Camelot Music. I couldn't find what I wanted because it was a new term.
Right. And that's marketing. The Velvet Underground, dude, it's still marketing. What's the Velvet Underground now? Nostalgia.
Oh,
right?
Shitting. Yep.
You know, it hasn't changed. The terms that we decide to put on it have changed, and that's straight up about marketing. It's not an accident that you see somebody my daughter's age, 23, wearing a Joy Division shirt. Yep. And then you say, so what was your favorite Ian Curtis penned song? And they stare at you like a dog watching a magic trick.
A fashion statement.
Yeah, it's a T-shirt. It's, you guys don't know anything about Ian Curtis or how New Order came around, or
I have my stepdaughters, but both have Sex Pistols shirts because they're cool. They have no idea. They don't. And if they actually heard his voice, they probably would hate it. but I'm just saying,
I wasn't fond of it either. I appreciated what it was.
It's grown on me over time.
But see, when that was going on, I was finding bands like Naked Raygun out of Chicago. You could be pissed off and angry and still
melodic
and still use more than one chord. Not to offend the ghost of Lou Reed, but it could be done.
I just the thing is when I really dived into that record many years later, I was really amazed why the Nevermind the Bollocks record was amazing to me. It was simple because it was 3 chord, 4 chord structured songs, and it was produced well. It was produced on the par of a Kiss record that Bob Ezrin did in '76. Which, now, granted,
may have helped it more than it needed to be helped. It may have, what's the term?
They couldn't
polish the turd.
They couldn't emulate it live. Any live concert from that band ever is I can't. It's unwatchable. From the era of the 70s.
It's not even a concert. It literally, and you've seen it, looks like a bunch of dudes got up there and just all, this song? Okay, go. And had never seen each other before. But see, that was part of the allure of it. It's like, wow, you can stink.
But you need one band like that. You don't need 20.
Right.
That was my argument. Like, we had one. Maybe 2 or 3 were okay for that genre, but you don't need...
Yeah, but now you're into the economics of it. Now you're into the record label going, holy crap, Nevermind sold this many? Well, who's this Nirvana? Okay, we'll call them grunge. Who's this Soundgarden? We'll call them grunge.
That's what happened.
Who's this Mother Love Bone? Who's this? What was the name of the record?
Well, the one band that I want to bring up to you and get your thoughts on that I absolutely think is just phenomenal. That got lumped in with them and should never have been lumped in when that grunge era was Stone Temple Pilots.
Stone Temple Pilots.
They had so much going on.
Rocked.
Man. Oh my God!
I saw them here.
Fucking band, man. I mean, how could you pigeonhole? I mean, when the second album, when the sophomore record ends up being better than the first one, and then they start doing real melodic stuff in albums 3 and 4, it was almost like a Zeppelin thing going on, like how the tapestry of their career happened.
Right, but it goes back, what's the easiest way to get somebody to pay attention? It's this stuff, and we know you like that stuff because the numbers show that you sold a bunch of it. And look, they're from here. They must be grunge, everything in Seattle. And I've read interviews with musicians. I've heard Grohl talk about it. He said afterwards, if you were in a band in Seattle, there was somebody willing to sign you.
Wow.
If you were wearing a flannel shirt, they were beating your door down.
Just because of geography. That's crazy.
Yep.
Poor business.
Marketing.
Poor business, though.
Well, marketing. It's that simple. People don't know what they need or don't need, but you can convince them.
Okay.
If you spend the time and you figure out what presses their buttons, you can convince them.
At that same time, we brought up earlier, right around that time, and I do talk about Pantera being the crux of that, and then me years later having that thing with Dimebag. So that's why it's in my brain. But Pantera was the first time I was exposed to what I thought was slightly pissed off fans, like angry fans. I had seen Slayer and the Pits. I was aware of that band.
Right.
Not real my thing, not real melodic, too much like screaming. Yeah, but the Pantera thing seemed to be resonating with kids. That album, The Vulgar Display of Power, whatever it was, in the early 90s, was the antithesis, I thought, of grunge. It was the other side of grunge.
It's like, we're not going to be, wishy-washy is not the right word. We're not going to be muddled with our sound.
Right.
I mean, you can be muddled and still have fuzz on the guitar, or you can be shred and it gets much more staccato and syncopato and all that stuff and way harsher. And while you're in amps, the difference between my little 5-watt valve at home and that.
Yeah.
All right, the difference between pickups, single coils, or the humbuckers. Or if you can't commit, then you go with the P's in the middle, right?
That's exactly right.
It's all those different sounds.
Which in itself is the beauty of music. I mean, and I wasn't against any band. If any band resonated with a group of people, that's validity of its own. I don't have to personally like it.
Right.
As long as it's valid, right? I mean, G.G. Allen was a nutcase, but there was a small people that followed that dirtball around, and he was a thing, right? I mean, so am I to say that that's garbage? Well, just because I don't like it doesn't mean that it isn't valid. If people want to pay for it, I don't know.
What determines what's valid? How much somebody's willing to pay for it?
Pretty much.
That's
it's the market, right?
So you can look at it and say, "Oh my God, Cardi B." Well,
that's kind of what I say.
There's a whole. I know. If there's a whole lot of people paying for it, it's valid.
Yeah.
As a kid, a Harry Chapin record, Verities and Balderdash, that was an extremely valid record to me. All my friends, they're like, dude, what is that?
Yeah,
and they'd be arguing, why don't you play, where's the Kansas record? Where's the Billy Joel record? Where's the REO Speedwagon and Styx? Why are you listening to Jim Croce? Why are you listening to John Prine?
But that was filling something that you needed inside, obviously. Your musical palette was such that it was broad enough that you needed that stuff. You know, in addition to everything else.
I was interested in stuff that said something that used music to say something with the words rather than depend utterly on, well, this is my emotion, I'll get it out with music and you guys sort it out. I like the idea. Story songs were interesting to me.
And that was not a lot of heavy metal then. I mean, maybe with Rush it was.
Yeah.
But not.
No.
Like Van Halen wasn't taking you on a journey.
No. Beowulf and Ice Cream Man have never been compared to each other. No, you're exactly correct. Marillion.
Yeah. Great band.
I mean, they're Moody Blues a little bit, and people try Pink Floyd certainly, and Roger Waters afterwards with the Amused to Death and the Radio Chaos.
I thought Sabbath's lyrics early on were really deep and like obtuse almost.
Yeah,
right.
I like lyrics that told me a story and left me. Quadrophenia is still one of the top 50 records, period, of all time.
515, baby. I mean, I just did lyrics.
Pete Townsend's a complete nut job. But he's brilliant.
Just read his autobiography. Finally,
he's nuts, dude.
I loved every second of it. He's no one. I'd love to hang out with him, but I don't know if I would have liked him as a human being.
No.
You know?
No, he's one of those guys like, okay, dude, you're brilliant. I still want to punch you in the face. And I can balance that. But the Quadrophenia was a huge record for me.
What do you think about the Stones' overall lyrical stuff? Was there anything in there deep?
I think it was all deep if it was simple enough.
The early stuff.
Yeah. It's the simplicity of writing. It's the difference between, you mentioned Ayn Rand earlier, or you're reading some fancy English Victorian era writer with all of the proper, and then you read somebody like Ernest Hemingway.
Yeah,
here's the story. I think the Stones were really good, and everything they did, they brought from the black blues experience in the South. Mm-hmm. You know, Death Letter Blues.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There ain't a whole lot of big words in that,
right
but by the end of it, you're still
right on.
Tore up by it.
No doubt.
Simple words.
No doubt.
Kurt Vonnegut didn't write in big words.
No.
Okay.
None of his work is, but it was good.
Yeah, that was my guy.
So
there's
Dylan.
There's beauty in simplicity. There can be.
What was Dylan to you? That's a complex question.
Well, the word side of it, obviously, he was successful. Didn't he just sell his catalog for 3 or $600 million or something?
I'm not arguing its success, but to you personally, did you get anything out of it?
By association, because I liked when the Byrds sang Dylan. Mm-hmm. I liked when all the other people that sang all those Dylan songs.
Dylan.
Except Dylan. And that's even before the motorcycle wreck. I didn't. Yeah. It's Sid Vicious. You can either deal with the voice or you can't deal with it. Johnny. Sid had no voice. He was slumped over. But I just
with a needle in his arm.
I didn't get it, but I saw all of these people that I did like.
Yeah.
That really dug it, and I knew it's like, all right, that dude, what he's doing is real important, but it's
just not. It's not resonating with you.
It's over my head, maybe. Yeah. Same thing with Zappa. I'm a Frank Zappa freak, always have been, but I'll be the first to tell you about 30% of Zappa is unlistenable, man. It is. It's you put on the soundtrack to like 200 Motels, and you go, all right, dude, I get it. You're a musical genius. This is making my head hurt.
Yeah, I feel that way about like some of the Pink Floyd stuff.
Yeah,
you mentioned Pill. Like most of the there's nuggets in there.
Yeah,
but one song of an entire album would be actually like, okay, that's pretty cool. The rest of it's just like
dude,
noise.
What are you doing?
Yeah,
what are you
filler,
doing?
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's not filler to them.
No, but like Zappa.
Oh yeah,
Warren Zevon.
Oh yeah.
Or you talk about simple words, and I don't know how many.
London, man.
If you can get your point across, Prison Grove, one of the songs he recorded before he died.
Okay,
there might be 40 different words in the entire song.
Yeah,
and it's absolutely beautiful. And any singer-songwriter that can include the word brucellosis, which is like a cow disease, that's brilliant. Brucellosis, I think, but it's a disease that farmers' livestock gets. It's like, you know what? That guy,
weaved that in.
That's pretty good. The Sentimental Hygiene record.
Okay.
I remember, like, okay, I'm turned on to this guy, and was until he died.
Okay.
And it's simple stuff. But think about it, Eric. If you go online, you say, well, I like this song. This song's got a lot going on. And you print the lyrics to it, look at them. Not all the time. Most of the time, there's a lot less there than 3.5 minutes worth of stuff.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So if you can work simple and still work profound, then you ain't got to dress it up.
Genius. Yeah. If you can make it happen, that's actually genius.
That's John Prine. That's Jerry Jeff Walker. Those guys, the singer, the Todd Snyders now.
Did you, were you familiar with Jeff Buckley?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jeff's dad was Tim Buckley, who was the folk singer in Dylan's era, not as popular as Dylan. He still had some good work. Mm-hmm. But I found out about Jeff Buckley at the moment he died. Like that next month, I'd seen the clip on there, and I was turned on to, and I went back and bought the the EPs and the live at Cine and the actual full length record, blown away by the voice. Mm-hmm. I can't say all the music was. There's like a Prince type song in one of them. It's just. But what was your thoughts when you heard him sing?
Singer-songwriter, folky.
You didn't think his voice was like extraordinarily amazing?
Oh no, I thought it was a beautiful voice, but I'll be honest, I didn't dismiss it, but folky.
Okay.
Folky.
Okay.
And I don't know why, but I've always been drawn vocally, especially if we're talking about slowing down the music and turning the damn reverb and the overdrive down, the guys that don't sound pretty.
Okay.
Tom Waits.
Yeah, the gravel voice. Tom's a great voice. I think he's got a great voice.
He is all time.
It's all him, too.
Yeah. And again, with lyrics, there aren't too many people that can have on the same record a song that makes you laugh for 4 minutes and a song that makes you cry for 4 minutes. And Waits has a bunch of records like Mule Variations.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
There are songs on there that you just... just giggle.
Yeah.
The piano's been drinking, not me. Yep. And then hold on after that. It's like, oh my God, this guy is
all
unreal.
Coming out of the same guy.
All coming out of the same little guy with the hat.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've always been... Harry Chapin wasn't a great voice. John Prine, certainly not a great voice.
Harry Chapin, help me understand, he sang Cats in the Cradle?
Correct.
And he also sang the long song, hold on.
Which one? That was his problem.
Great point.
All of his songs were too long to get on the radio.
American Pie.
No.
Don McLean.
Don McLean.
Yeah. Okay. I
Harry
get
Chapin
confused all the time.
Harry Chapin sang. There's a record, Verities and Balderdash.
Yes.
There's Dance Band on the Titanic. He was known for Cats in the Cradle, and he was known for WOLD. Okay. Which was a song about a radio DJ.
Okay.
About this guy's life going by. He did sequel to Taxi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did Taxi and did sequel, but most of his songs were 6, 7, 8 or longer.
His story, I thought I saw some kind of VH1 special on him years ago. He died doing charity work. He did a lot of charity shows. He was always giving, and giving. Is that how the story went? He was always doing to help this cause, or he was always giving of his shows for
library
free.
Fundraisers.
Yeah, and he died in a car accident or something.
He was driving, I want to say, on the Long Island Expressway, and he had a heart attack while he was driving, and
wow.
Smashed into a car, and that was it.
Wow.
But
he was on the way to another charity.
He was big about this Philharmonic needed a fundraiser.
Yeah.
This library needs a building built. And he'd play little shows. And as a singer-songwriter, a small show is better. It's more intimate.
Right on.
Harry Chapin playing 40,000 people would be ridiculous for everybody involved.
Yeah. I would think so.
But Don McLean, different guy, different attitude.
Okay, meaning?
Not
I don't know anything about him. Other side of that song drives me nuts because it never ends.
Well, you know his other one, don't you?
Maybe.
Vincent, Starry, Starry Night.
Oh, my God.
Those were his too, baby.
Okay.
All right, Gordon Lightfoot still gets a check for the Edmund Fitzgerald. McLean.
He has Sundown too, doesn't he?
Oh, God. No, that's the 70s radio that drove me to punk. You better take care. You're talking about pretty voices. That guy's got an adenoid condition.
Please tell me, did you Doug Boss Skaggs, right? Because he was a badass, I think. So he did a little popish at the end. But
Donald Fagen, Moore.
Steely Dan.
Same guy. Or not same guy. To me, same era.
Yeah. Steely Dan.
Boz Skaggs had a little bit of a funky to it that I liked, but the Steely Dan and the Donald Fagen night. Well, but who was going in it? That was like Zappa's band. Who was playing with them this week?
Yeah.
Oh, look, Skunk Baxter's back there.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Larry Carlton on the solo from Kid Charlemagne. Still, I never heard anything like it in my life.
Yeah. Hey, our guitar player, his nickname is the model of the guitar. Miss, what is it, 335, right?
Yeah.
Just the musicianship. But see, that was smooth as all get out musicianship, but it still had a little bit of a groove and a funk going, especially for those two dudes. You're sitting there going, this is coming out of this is cool. But
those lyrics,
Nightfly,
those lyrics,
yeah, that if you want to listen to the words of it, listen to Nightfly by Donald Fagen. That whole record is phenomenally good.
Yeah, I remember I had a mother that came out of pure hippie, and a father was in the service. I was raised in Long Beach. My uncle was a drummer for Gravel in Pittsburgh, the 70s rock band. And
wait, you were raised in Long Beach?
Yes, when I was younger, yeah. Very young.
Skateboarder, right?
Heck, dude, I was back home probably by the time I was like 4 or 5.
Okay.
So,
All right.
but she saw all the cool bands on a 5x5 stage in the park. You know, they all came over. So I kind of got into the whole rock. I had no choice because I was always listening. I grew up with these things on the turntable, and then bands in the mid '70s like Rush and Kiss became my music. That was my short story. But it was fascinating to me that listening to these bands early on, that like when my mother would be able to decipher what some of these lyrics were on some of these, so like Kid Charlemagne, I was forbidden to really listen to because I like what was wrong with this song, but it told the story of a freaking. Was it heroin or what was the? It was LSD.
It was not for young ears.
Yeah. So there's a lot of songs that they tried, and the more they tried to keep me from it, the more I wanted to find it. Right?
That's it. That's marketing, man. The quicker you want somebody to buy something, tell them, "Oh no, that's bad for you."
Warning labels on records that really helped, right?
Yeah, you go home with the Lou Reed record. What's the name of the first song? Heroin. Everyone else on the planet's recording puppies and incense and peppermints and strawberry alarm clock. We're going to meet a transvestite, and we're going to buy drugs, and we're going to play one chord and be really indignant about it.
Man.
It was the total opposite. That was what was interesting about it.
Yeah. Lou Reed was a force, man.
He was a jackass as a person.
Was he really?
Yeah.
I got a good story about Lou Reed that I think that I would share with you. I worked for a
rest in peace, Lou.
RPS was the first company to take on UPS in package delivery. They became FedEx Ground. I started there in the beginning. My job was to trace down missing packages.
Okay.
Well, Lou Reed, because we must have gave Lou a cheap rate, went to the facility and sent one of his nice little Fender Twins to California.
Okay.
And 2 months later, it never arrived, and I was charged by luck of the draw to speak with this human being about his missing amp. And let's just say I was thrilled to speak with him for about 5 minutes until he laid into me.
Yeah.
And he made my life miserable for 3 weeks, and we never found that amplifier.
Yeah.
It was a surprise. He didn't insure it either.
Well, dude, that's on you. That's not you, him.
But it was Lou Reed.
Yeah,
Lou Reed.
Yeah, and if whoever stole it, if they had the sense to steal the packing receipt, they got more for it.
There's no question.
It's Lou Reed's album or Lou Reed's amp. How do you know? Here's where his address is.
Where I made a mistake early on when I was talking to him. I'm a young kid. I'm 21. I'm like,
yeah.
I said, "Sir, did you sing Take a Walk on the Wild Side?" He goes, "I don't give a fuck about the wild side. I want my..." Yeah, he was just a miserable son of a bitch,
Yes,
man.
he was.
And like in real life.
Yes, he was.
Really?
Yes, he was.
So let's go there.
All my favorite people were just rat bastards in real life. Seriously, all my heroes turned out to just be scumbags.
That's terrible. That's terrible, though.
It taught me the lesson that don't assume you know somebody by knowing what it is they do for a living.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
It's like, well, that guy seems like a really cool guy. That comedian's funny, or that musician seems cool. And,
okay.
Dude, you know this in radio, especially coming up in rock radio.
Yeah.
You're going to meet all sorts of people. And very quickly, you're gonna develop the skill set to sort out whether or not they're decent human beings.
I bet.
Or scumbags. Just like in real life. If you walk down the street, they're real nice people and they're not so nice people.
True.
It's just, that's what's up.
Right.
George Carlin, I met twice. I loved George Carlin. I met him twice. I got over it really quickly. Again, God rest his soul, but he was actively nasty for no reason other than he could be.
Yeah.
And you run into people like that, too, that are just nasty, abusive, just because they're in a position they know you can't do nothing about it.
Yeah. So...
It kills careers too. If you pop that attitude too early,
I think
that next record that comes out, music directors ain't going to be all that in tune with it, no matter how good that first record was. I'm looking at you, Big Head Todd and the Monsters.
Big Head Todd and the Monsters.
Todd Parkmore.
Okay.
Yeah, that first record was huge. Great record.
I remember.
Okay, the second record wasn't. You know why?
Because everybody found out he was a dick.
Well, because they went out and you go to the morning shows and you do that and you play the new song, but you got to play the stuff for the fan. He would, no, I'm not playing that. I'm only playing the news. And he was unpleasant.
That prima donna shit's unbelievable.
It's like, dude, you got one record into this. That behavior ain't gonna. And that was it.
Yeah, I was mentioning this with Chris when she was on. Luckily for me, being a big Kiss head, when I finally got a chance to meet Stanley and work with him, he ended up being the gentleman I hoped he was. Amazing guy.
Yeah, and you run into that too.
Amazing guy.
You're like, oh my God, this guy that I hero worship this guy. He's just a dude.
Yeah.
Oh, yay. And you feel even better about having, invested your energies into it.
Gene, not so much.
Yeah, but Gene...
Not so much.
Gene's entire shtick is to be a dick.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
And he owns it, and he said, this is who I am, and if you don't like it, and...
Yeah.
At least he's up front with that, right?
He's honest about it.
If you're going to be a horse's ass, but you're straight up front and consistently a horse's ass, yeah, that's fine.
But there's little moments you have, where not even in the business like yourself, just as a fan,
right?
You encounter people like that, and you hope they end up being good people to you at that moment, right?
You hope that they don't take their celebrity as a shield to be a horse's ass.
Yeah.
And it's real easy to do, man.
Yeah.
If you're a rock star, all you've got around you is people telling you how groovy you are.
Yeah.
All right? And it's real easy to start believing I'm groovier than the rest of the planet.
Believe the bullshit.
Yeah. You buy into your own shtick.
Yep.
That's dangerous.
Well, when did you get to Pittsburgh? Like, what year did you get here? And did you start it? Was DVE your first job in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, 96.
Okay.
Spring of 96. Late spring of 96.
I remember that to be about a month or two before the Kiss reunion tour. And I think it was June of '96 when they put the makeup back on, did all that shit. That was the big Pittsburgh event for two.
Well, if it was the first 5 months until like October or November, I wouldn't have seen it because they hired me to do nights. I did nights.
Okay.
And after like 5 months, they said, "Hey, we're moving you." The first time I ever met any of the people on the morning show was the first morning I worked with them.
Wow, no shit.
Yeah.
You were out by the time they were in, right?
Huh?
You were already gone.
Yeah. I knew who Scott was. I knew Scott and Jimmy in the morning show and whatever. I knew who they were because at night I would play comedy cuts off the disc, right?
Okay.
But the first time I ever worked with any of those guys was when they put me in for a week.
Got it.
And that's when I met them. Was the first day, and I was doing sports, and I was Chris same week.
Yeah.
Danny Coates was doing news, and Bill Kurzik was doing sports, and Kurz was went on vacation for the week, and Danny was about to quit or had quit or something, but Chris and I both filled in for the week at the same time.
Got it.
But that was the first time I met any of those.
Wow.
So. Exact opposite schedules. If I'm doing 7 to midnight, I'm showing up at 2:30 or 3 in the afternoon to prep.
Right.
Those dudes ain't around at 2:30. Scott used to get there no later than 4:15 every morning.
Yeah.
So, and dude, when you do a show, when you're done,
get the fuck out.
You're done. Your brain is oatmeal. The meetings. Come on, you guys were just in a room together for 4 hours. You hate each other's guts. Let's sit down in a small area and talk about it. And it's just like, geez, and it fried your head, man.
What did you love about playing rock and roll for a Pittsburgh audience?
I could relate to it.
Okay.
And that's and they can relate if you can relate.
Okay.
And Sean, my life was much less bouncy because of Sean.
Okay.
Sean McDowell.
Okay.
Sean made a point. He was the dude. I knew how to get to the grocery store and to work. That was it.
Right on.
My wife and I came here, no idea. I had never been here.
Oh, shit.
Dude, when they called me, I didn't recognize the name or the phone number. I didn't take the call. When they called and asked if I wanted to interview for a job,
wow.
The guy that ran DVE, Gene Romano, I'm getting ready to do a midday show.
Okay.
The secretary comes in. I bet you it's still in my wallet. The message comes in and says, "Hey, there's this guy on the phone for you." And I'm pulling my music and getting my shit together. It's like, no, I'm just doing. She hands it, and it's a name I don't recognize.
All right.
And 412 area code, which I don't know what that is. But Gene, okay, whatever. I do my show, and a buddy of mine, real good friend of mine, Bob and Tom's network coordinator, a guy named Drew Carey. Okay, Drew and I knew each other.
Oh, shit.
And
okay.
I called Drew, and I say, "Hey, man, you ever heard of Gene Romano?" And he goes, "What?" I go, "Yeah, dude, this dude just called me, and I'm supposed to call, and the message says regarding a friend." And I'm like, "All right, I don't know this dude's name, and I don't know what friend could we have." So, and my buddy Drew in Indy at Q95 said, "Dude, you need to call that guy back." I go, "Okay, why?" He goes, "Okay, you know what Q is here? Q95 in Indy, I think FBQ. Bob and Tom is where they started. Legendary, still on the air network, bazillions dollars, the whole trip, right? So you need to call." And I go, "Why?" He said, "Okay, you know what Q is in Indy?" And I used to listen to Q when I was at Purdue. It's like an hour and 20 minutes, right?
Right.
I said, "Yeah." He goes, "That's DVE there." I go, "Really?" He goes, "Dude, you need to call him." And I'm like, "All right, what?" And my buddy that was our consultant at Cincinnati,
Yeah.
I called him, Tony. He worked at WEBN, high atop Brog Mountain. And there, I called him. I said, "Hey, man, I got this dude that called me, and what's up?" And I told him. He goes, "If he offers you a job making no money, take it." And I said, "Why?" He goes, "Dude, you know what EBN is here, right?" And I was driving 4 hours to do a 4-hour weekend shift on EBN.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
He goes, "It's the same station as far as the heritage and what it is in the market and owning the market.
Right.
It's EBN. It's what KLOS in LA used to be.
Right.
It's the MMS in Cleveland." He goes, "Call this dude." And by the end of that day, I had talked to him 4 times, and he said, when my boss, the GM, my boss gets back, we're going to make you a contract offer.
No shit.
And I'm thinking, dude, I don't even know you. And I didn't apply to work at DVE.
How'd they find you?
You know what a blind box ad is, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
Back in the day, the most guarded, the holy grail of a radio station was R&R, Radio and Records Magazine.
Okay.
Came once a week.
Okay.
The entire back of it was jobs. There were a lot of stations. The DJs weren't allowed to look at R&R because they go in and look at jobs.
Got it.
The jobs blind box ad would describe the job and say, "Mail it to this P.O. box."
Yeah, keep anonymity.
We don't want the dude that we're firing to know we're firing him yet, so send it to this P.O. box. And they were hiring nights at DVE, and they were hiring nights at the X.
Okay.
I put together a package, and blind box. I've been about a year every Friday trying to get the hell out of where I was.
Okay.
It's like, if I'm going to get out, I got to go. If I'm not, I'm not. But I applied. The ad I applied for was to work at a modern rock station. I applied to the blind box ad for the X.
Got it.
And my cover letter, because I was working rock and roll at the time, all my cover letters said, thinking, well, I'm applying to work modern rock. I dig that anyway. My cover letter said, "Please, God, help me before I have to play Molly Hatchet again." And I just signed it. That's all my cover letter said. And I get a phone call.
DVE calls you.
Well, I'm talking to Gene, and he's talking about this job, and
that's so good.
We can tell the other one's not quite on the same wavelength, and he's describing this job, and I go, "What radio station are you talking about?" He goes, "DVE." I go, "Is that the modern rock station?" He goes, No. Okay, so it's rock, straight rock. Okay, well, that's what I'm doing now. That's fine, too. No, I love Molly Hatchet. No, I'm a big fan of Molly Hatchet. I like, Flirting with Disaster. I sing it when I'm having sex. That's how big a fan. If it gets,
out that?
It's like Cleveland. Boom goes the dynamite. And they flew us out.
Wow.
I mean, literally sight unseen.
No
and
shit.
Said, dude, what do you like? I'm looking around going, I can do this.
Right.
This is
right.
Once they put it in perspective,
Oh, yeah,
it's like,
man.
dude, this place is every bit these other places that you do know about.
Right.
But see, that made it tough too, because again, going back to Sean, I was the guy that wasn't the guy that grew up here.
Got it.
So, and you know this, Pittsburghers are
parochial.
Absolute, yeah. And Sean made all that okay. And
Right.
and the theory, and I heard it from a bunch of people, well, I thought you were a jag-off, but Sean likes you. McDowell says you's all right, so okay. Sean would call, hey, you guys want to go to the ball game? He'd take us, we'd go to Pirates games, and
Right.
he'd show me around.
Right.
And dude, you know this, if you ever want to get up to speed quickly on the history of Western PA, drink beer with Sean McDowell. Because
I'd like to. I want him here.
He's got heritage. He can tell you his stories. He can tell you his dad's stories in media too, right?
Yeah.
And that was the saving grace.
And you did evenings. That was for your first gig.
7 to midnight.
Yeah,
for about 5 months.
What I remember you arriving.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that was 96, right?
Yeah, late spring of 96.
Yeah. Okay. So then from there, from evenings, then where did you go?
Mornings.
That's right.
Morning sports director.
That's what I thought. That's when you started working with Paulson.
And looking back, I didn't hear it at the time, but I remember one of those phone calls with Romano. He goes, so you know anything about sports?
You gotta be shitting me.
And I didn't think about it. I go, well, I know a little bit.
That's so good.
Why? He goes, I was just curious. All right, that it came to light later. He was thinking, maybe something with this, but they wanted to know what the hell do you know about sports and sports broadcasting. They didn't ask about that, just had I ever gone into a locker room and interviewed naked men was the basic question. It's like, well, yes, I have. As an amateur, but and then 4 or 5 months later, they're like, dude, you're doing. And they called me and told me, and he was really up. He told me later, remember, I'm doing 7 to midnight, right?
Yeah.
Now, for 1 week,
Yeah.
instead of getting home and going to bed at 3, because when you come home from a show, you ain't going to bed. You're geeked, right?
Right.
Instead of going to bed at 3, I'm getting up at 3.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm crashed, right? It's like 2 p.m, just dead. And he calls. My wife wakes me up, and he starts telling me, hey, we want to put you in the morning show full time. You're going to be the sports director. You're going to cover all this. And I'm dead ass asleep.
Okay.
When? And I think at one point I said, when does it start? And he told me later, he's like, man, I was really worried that you didn't understand the gravity of this. It's like, bro, you got me on an exact opposite sleep schedule. But my wife said I talked to him for 10 minutes about the new job opportunity and just grunted and whistled and made no sense and hung up on him.
That's hysterical.
And he's like, you still cool with this? It's like, yeah, dude, I was asleep. I've been here 5 months. You call in the middle of the day, I get woke up to,
All right, now, wait a second. So help me understand the difference between a sports director and how you folks tackle sports on a rock station as opposed to how they tackle sports on, let's say, a show like The Fan, or the station like The Fan.
The information's the same. How you package it up is determined by your audience. Steelers winning or Steelers losing is Steelers winning or Steelers losing.
Okay.
How that get packaged up. Rock and roll football coverage, right? It's totally how it gets packaged up. The information's the information.
Well, DVE figured out a way to do that when they first went from TAE to DVE. I think that's where they came from, right? The Steelers.
I think.
When DVE signed, I loved it because now all of a sudden it was going to be like Steely Dan said, FM, no static at all.
Right.
It was clearly the better way for an experience to listen. But when they started integrating the show,
the morning show, and having players show up on Saturday morning.
It was so. I didn't know how that would go over, and then it did go over. I didn't know how it was going to work, though. I didn't view DVE and the Steelers together. I just, as a rock and roll fan and a Steeler fan, didn't.
Well, but when you're sitting in a room and you've got somebody coming in, that's about your interpersonal relationship with them, and part of that, the whole sports director trip. The guys that we had coming in were guys that I saw 2 or 3 or 4 days a week because I'd get off the morning show. Okay, there's either going to be locker room or press conference or coaches, and go to the south side.
Right.
All those guys, when they'd come in, they wouldn't maybe know anybody else, but they'd recognize me because they'd see me in the locker room 2 or 3 times.
Got it.
That made it better, and it's about knowing the person and knowing your audience,
right,
and making sure the person that's coming in understands what the audience is, and just you get all that sorted out ahead of time.
Okay,
but
so
the info's the info.
The prep, the show prep, I think, is where most people that enjoy radio, when they think about it, they never think of show prep. They just think that you folks just effing show up and just you're on and everything just done. Flows.
No. If you're showing up a half hour before a talk show, you're lazy.
Yeah.
And it will sound like you're lazy.
Yeah.
It can't. And I've tried it. Every rock DJ at some point they think, I wonder what it'd be like if I went in and did my show drunk, right?
Ah, okay.
Do it once. It's the greatest idea ever for about the first hour.
Yeah.
And then it's about, you can't do it. And it's disrespectful. If you care enough about the craft to want to do the craft, respect the craft.
Right.
If it's a music show, you can show up a half hour before. Make sure you have your music back when you had to pull music.
Yeah.
Make sure you have your crap together for when it's time to go.
Yeah.
But if it's a music show, you're talking maybe 4 times an hour, maybe 30 or 45 seconds.
Yeah.
While a song's playing, you can maybe scribble some stuff. If it's a talk show, I'm a 2 for 1.
Okay.
And if it's a 4-hour talk show, I have to prep 2 hours.
Got it.
At BVP and WNBA, it's a 3-hour talk show. I have to prep at least an hour and 15, an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Just
I believe it.
To know what's going on, know what I think I want to happen.
Right.
And recognize it still could all change.
Yeah.
But if you aren't completely sure, it's impossible to sound completely sure. And if you don't sound completely sure,
that's a good point.
What the hell are you doing? You ain't convincing nobody.
That's a good point.
You can be completely full of crap, but if you sound like you believe it,
right.
And you got to listen to what you're saying, what you've said, and what you're going to say all at the same time, with the variable of somebody calling and, throwing something in that you hadn't thought of. That's the fun of it. That's the craft. That's the every day it's the same puzzle, but all of the pieces are a little bit different.
No doubt.
Yeah, but the idea of coming in 10 hours or 10 minutes before a talk show, bad.
Yeah.
And you know what the other one is too, right? When you hear a talk, but then this entire day, we're just going to do open phones, whatever you want to talk about. Okay, that translates into they didn't do the work.
Or I didn't prepare for the
I
show.
just showed up, I got nothing, and I just need to get to the break so I can get to pee.
You see,
that's what that means.
You do see a lot of that sometimes in sports talk, like where they don't have an agenda, like it's Open Phone Friday or whatever.
Well, now that can be a feature.
Okay,
that
like
can
be
be
a scheduled thing.
Right, that can be a feature, and that's like the voice of the fan or the speaker's corner once every Friday, whatever, and let it's like go
free for all.
Right, but if you're doing a talk show, it's your talk show. If you're depending on listeners or callers, because remember, and you know this, Eric, 90-something%, I think 94% of people that listen to talk radio will never, ever, 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 ever call talk radio.
Right.
Never.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So if you're basing the content on 6% of your audience, okay, you're not serving the other 94% of your audience.
It's a great point.
And it's your show.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're in charge of it. If it was the audience's show,
right,
they'd be doing it. Right. And that's where you have to, ego's involved in it, and respecting the craft is involved with it.
No
but
question.
When you go in, that's on you.
No doubt.
And why would you give other people, especially people you don't know, why would you give them an opportunity to somehow tweak with what it is you're trying to do?
You're giving control.
Right. This is if it's going to sink or if it's going to swim, it's going to be on me.
Yeah.
And a real good exercise, and this happened to me once. The guy, right before I was going in, this was when I was at ESPN.
All right.
Right before I was going, like 2 minutes before I'm going in. Hey, no phones today. What do you mean no phones today? No phones today. Broken. Wait, no, they're not. They're blinking. You can't use phones today. Do you have a show prepared? I go, And the lesson was, if nobody does nothing, do you still have enough to do a good show? If you're depending on other people, you're not taking control of it. You're not taking pride in it. If you take pride in it, you're like making a guitar. You make a beautiful guitar and you pull a stranger in off the street. Here, put the bridge on. Okay?
I think in the history of guitars, that may have happened
once or twice.
Not in my world, but I mean, I know that's happened.
If you respect the craft, and it is a craft.
Oh, no question.
If you respect it, take ownership of it. And that's not just true for talk. That's true for everything. If you're doing that was the Rolling Stones, this is Fog. See how good you can sound doing that for that 14 seconds. See how clean that can be if you're wanting to hit the post. There's simple stuff can be done well. It doesn't always have to be incredibly complex. There's 5 different voices in this bit, and there's timing elements, and you got to pay attention. If simple stuff, it goes back to the simple lyrics on songs. Simple stuff done well is at least as emotionally accessible as the fancy stuff with all the different voices or all the different keyboard parts or whatever it is.
I wish I would have had this advice when I started my real estate talk show down on BVP in 16. I mean, because I thought I got real good real quick because I was comfortable.
No.
But when I started really re-listening to the shows, I realized right away, wow, this is not where I want to be, and this is not how I want to sound.
Never get comfortable.
This doesn't sound professional, and I know that I can do better. And then once I started planning shows out,
that's it, man.
It started to flow, and the comfort came even more then. Mm-hmm. But my guard was really up all the time, and when you let my guard down, that was a mistake. I got sloppy then.
Well, it's not letting your guard down. It's believing your own hype. And I've seen that a million times. That was a pretty good show. When you do get sloppy, you get lazy.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt.
Right?
I did.
It's that rock star thing. If everyone around you is telling you how groovy you are, you're no longer trying to improve your craft because everybody's groovy.
Amen.
If I ever do a show where at the end of the show, I go back and I record everything. Mm-hmm. Everything. I've got copies of everything on the air.
That's smart.
All right. I hate listening to them. They make me sick to my stomach to listen to them, but I've got them. If I ever do a show where at the end I go back and I think, you know what, that wasn't bad. And I go back and I listen to it and I think, oh my God, that was exactly the show in my head. If that day ever happens, I'll never do another show.
Okay.
That'll be the end of it.
I get it.
It's like, all right, I figured it out. I've been doing it 30 years and I hadn't figured it out. But all of a sudden, for whatever reason...
So you really believe in the constant improvement, the constant critical...
You have to.
Okay.
You have to. And I wouldn't do this if that wasn't part of the fun. There are a million jobs. You want to be a miserable son of a bitch and sit in a cubicle somewhere? Mm-hmm. Right on, man.
They're there.
Yeah.
They're there.
Go do that. But radio... is when it's done well, when it's done by people that are radio geeks rather than, overseen by people that are bank geeks, there's a craft to it. There's 1,000 different ways to paint that picture, and there's no limitation. Stan Freberg said television's far more limited than radio. Television, there's edges of the screen.
Right.
Radio,
right.
The only edges are the ones you put on in your imagination or don't put on in your imagination.
Good point.
And that gets into the theater of the mind stuff, and you can get into, anything from Bob and Tom comedy parody bits to
right.
fire sign theater. There's so much you can do, but
right.
you can't, if you don't respect it.
Yeah,
you'll
you
never
just can't walk in and wing it.
If you think you've got it figured out, it gets boring really quickly.
Yeah.
And we've seen that with musicians. Guys that's like, all right, what else can I do? Bye.
But you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. That's why the sophomore jinx, I think, exists. Not that the talent dries up as they start believing their own bullshit.
That's it, man.
You know?
The only band that I remember getting better every record until they broke up and in a fireball, XTC.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? The Andy Partridge, Colin Molding, whatever.
Yeah.
Every XTC record I heard was better than the last one.
That's hard
and then they imploded.
Yeah. That's hard to do.
Well, it's hard to do, it's hard to do creatively.
Mm-hmm.
But it's even harder to do creatively if the first record or the first DJ show, everybody's telling you how great it is.
Right.
Your motivation to do it, it's a lot easier to spend your time, ego-wise.
Yeah.
It's way more fun to spend your time hanging out and having people tell you how groovy you are than sitting down and rewriting a bit.
I in the annals of rock, I would venture to say that most sophomore efforts fall flat for most bands. They recover some of them. But I think of Zeppelin 2 being just a Braun bomber, that was better than a first. But there's not many examples of that.
You got two things going on. One, a band's first record is always going to have all of their best stuff, and they've been writing that best stuff since they were 15 or 16.
Got it.
These are songs that we've worked on, and they're rocking.
Got it.
Now you had 10 years worth of material that made one great record. All right, you got 8 months, make a second one.
Yeah.
Right? And you're going back to the stuff that didn't make the first record. Well, this isn't bad, but then there's a reason it didn't make the first record.
Right.
It's real hard to keep going downhill with that or uphill with that.
What about because you moved here, you weren't born and raised in Pittsburgh.
Right.
What is it with this town and the Steelers? You've got a really interesting viewpoint being a transplant here in the mid-'90s and starting to cover that team. Why are we so flippin' drunk on that team in this town, in your opinion?
Do you want the sports answer or the cultural answer?
I'll take both.
The sports answer is they win, and you always going to root for a winner, especially if it's your local winner.
Okay.
That's
since you've been here. The '80s were lean.
Well, but there was four in the '70s.
Yeah,
that can buy you a decade.
6 or 8 playoffs.
Yeah, that can buy you a decade. That's one.
Okay.
But culturally, socially, and you talk about Pittsburgh in the lean times.
Yeah.
I've talked to people. My first 3 years covering the Steelers, part of my job was to interview people in the parking lots at Three Rivers, and I've had these conversations.
Okay.
For a lot of people at that time,
they're drunk.
There were guys that used to show up that had no intention of going to the game.
A lot of people.
They just get drunk. Their buddies would throw them in the back of a truck, and then they check on them later, right?
Right.
But for a lot of people, they didn't have anything else that was going good in their lives.
Interesting.
If you had a job in the steel mill and then you didn't, and the economy was crap, and you weren't one of the people that said, to heck with it, I'm going to move to the Carolinas, or I'm going to move do the Florida trip, right? Or Arizona. What else did you have but sports?
Right.
And at the time, you didn't even have the Penguins. You did, but you didn't.
Pirates.
That's what there was. Yeah. And it's the same thing talking about football at Alabama.
Uh-huh.
And I don't say this saying poor, pitiful people. I'm talking about there's a lot of people that's all they got.
Right.
Their job is in Alabama. The job ain't good. The home life ain't good.
Yeah.
The education ain't nothing good going on. But on Saturday,
it's something to look forward to.
It's
Or cling to almost.
I don't feel like I'm a winner, but my team won, so I get to feel that a little bit.
Okay.
That's why sports teams are so ingrained.
Okay. Well, I remember feeling that as a kid in the mid-'70s when the Steelers would win, I would be in a great mood, and if they would lose, I'd go to school. I'd be so morbid. You know?
The Monday after a Steelers win is fine. The Monday after a Steelers loss is, and I've said that on the air. I don't cover them anymore. I ain't got no horse in the race, but I full-blown know this.
I just heard you giving commentary on The Fan the other day. Didn't they just call you?
Oh, Pony called me and wanted to know about Southern dialect.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah. That was great.
He's like, hey, what's daggum mean? So I had to explain.
That was great.
Now, Pony called me. He's like, hey, dude, can you explain something? Sure, what? Well, hang on the air. All right.
That was so great.
But I have no idea what I was talking about.
Talking about people how it's so ingrained in the culture, and people are hanging on to every.
It's what you have, man. If you ain't got nothing else.
You said in the '70s Mondays were bad when the Steelers lost.
Oh no, it's now when I covered them.
Really?
Yeah. You ask any law enforcement official, emergency services official, all of them, ambulance. Ask them the difference between a Steelers win and a Steelers loss, and the difference between a Steelers win and a Steelers loss on a night game. Yeah, okay?
Yeah.
Do
people show up for work the next day?
But see, that's just it. If you don't show up to work the next day, and they won, it's an excused absence.
Yeah.
If they lost, you show up and everybody's nasty. The mood of the city is absolutely connected to what your favorite team does. And I'll say this, having grown up,
not just Pittsburgh. I mean,
that's
a phenomenon. And it's an
more,
American phenomenon.
Well, it's more in Pittsburgh, I think, than anywhere else.
Okay.
And I was very surprised coming up around Alabama football. I really believed, wow, there ain't no football fan like an SEC football fan. It's for a Saturday.
That's a religion.
Yeah, it is, man. Saturday afternoons at 11 o'clock.
Yep.
The RVs would show up in the parking lot at Bryant-Denny middle of the day Wednesday.
It's crazy.
And just be there for the ball game and then head home Sunday. I didn't expect anything would compare to that. The Steelers, it's the closest I've ever seen in any pro franchise that comes close to the just absolute cultural passion icon locked in as a part of the fabric as SEC football. That I didn't expect it.
Statement.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be that ingrained.
Right.
And it absolutely is ingrained. Probably for a lot of the same reasons. Sometimes life in Pittsburgh wasn't so great. Dude, you've been to Alabama.
Yeah. I have been to Alabama.
Sometimes you ain't going to win.
I couldn't get served in Alabama because I was a northern. I heard the dialect. I'd go in for ice cream, and they would just pass me in line. They're like,
yes, sir.
I would, okay.
That's because you reminded them about that war of northern aggression. I got family in Alabama, and I love it. It's a wonderful place.
But I go to Gulf Shores on vacation.
That's not Alabama.
Right. And as soon as I enter that, I'm in another world. Yeah. It's totally different.
Gulf Shores that's the redneck Riviera. Seriously, that's what it's called.
Orange Beach.
Yeah, Orange Beach, Dolphin Island, all of that stuff.
Love it down
That's
there.
where Kenny Stabler made his drinking name down amongst that. But that's got a hint of Alabama, but that's also got a coastal thing going on.
Okay.
Alabama is when you're driving between one town you've heard of and another.
What's the major road? Right down through the center of the state. I would drive there from
Birmingham.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I would drive there to Gulf Shores, and I would go straight down that highway.
Well, there's two highways. You can either go through Birmingham or go through Atlanta.
No, I would go through Birmingham. Yeah.
But all the when you're driving, saying you're going from Huntsville to Birmingham, all the little signs you say, over here's this town, over here's that town. Coffee's over here, Sheffield's over. That's Alabama.
Yeah.
It's a very rural place. You think about it. How many towns in the state can you name?
Mobile, okay. Birmingham, Gulf Shores.
Gulf Shores is partial credit as Mobile. Count. Huntsville?
In Huntsville, yeah.
Okay. People know Huntsville because Huntsville is the space program and Redstone Arsenal is there.
Yeah.
But
that doesn't come to immediate mind.
that's not Alabama. Those are towns that happen to be in the state.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
Most of Alabama
Is rural.
is very rural. You know, I grew up in Muscle Shoals, which is the Quad Cities.
I only know that from the Leonard Skinner song.
Well, Fame Recording Studio, 2 blocks from my grandmother's
Oh,
house.
okay.
I used to see hippies standing out. Anytime we would go grocery shopping, there'd be hippies standing out in the parking lot.
Hoping they get a glimpse of Skinner.
Dude, it was Skinner, dude. It was Dwayne Allman is a session guy, and even as a little kid,
Wow.
you'd see something and it would jump out at you, and you knew it was different, and you didn't know why. You'd see black guys and white guys hanging out in the same parking lot,
Because they're playing music
and you
together.
didn't know what that was about, but it was
Right.
different enough it stood out.
Right.
And that was
Right.
an era. The quickest way to get your butt kicked wasn't to be a minority, it was to be a hippie.
Got it.
All right?
Got it.
But that's 2 blocks from my grandmother's house.
Wow.
So I grew up in amongst all of that.
Shoals.
Muscle Shoals Sound and Fame Recording Studio and Rolling Stones, man.
Yeah.
Everybody recorded there. But if you're not from, it's Muscle Shoals, Tuscumbia, Sheffield, and Florence. It's 4 towns. But if you're not from there, you don't know when you left one and went into a different.
Wow.
It's like driving Route 65. I'm in Conway. Now I'm in Rochester. Now I'm in New Brighton, right? Same deal. That's rare. And the only reason that stuff exists, TVA, Wilson Dam, and Wheeler Dam, Tennessee Valley Authority, and Reynolds Aluminum, all on the Tennessee River. That's it. The rest of Alabama, except for the coast and except for the big places where the schools are, they're small towns, man. Completely different culture.
Tennessee Valley Authority.
TVA.
I remember driving on my way to Gulf Shores, Alabama, through there. The greenest grass I've ever seen in my life. That was horse country, wasn't it?
Western Kentucky is, parts of Tennessee is, but you're starting. If you get a little bit east, you're getting into the Smoky Mountains. But you're talking about the Tennessee River basin.
Yeah, man. I remember just so lush. It was so lush and green, beautiful. Absolutely, it seemed like it went on forever. Yeah, good time. Good time.
Different.
Very different.
I'm so glad that I grew up where I did to get exposed to that.
Yeah.
Because that's less and less normal, not normal. That's less and less typical society now. Especially with the internet and with technology and all that stuff.
No doubt. It's still a different world though. For a northerner like me, when I went down there, I enjoyed it. But I was a fish out of water though, you know.
And they knew that.
And they knew I knew that.
and I bet you everybody was polite to you, but they looked at you funny.
Yes, or sometimes they wouldn't wait on me if I was in a. We were passed over for locals or passed over.
It was probably his cousin.
I was waiting for an ice cream cone.
I'm not making a joke. It was probably small towns, man. It's his cousin. He's going to wait on his cousin before he waits on a damn Yankee or some other crappy Tommy Shaw band.
Tommy Shaw band.
Yeah, it's a different culture, dude. I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it, and as I get older, there are more things about it that I appreciate more.
Okay.
Yeah, but
it's slower. The pace is slower.
Right. The assumption is people down there are dumb because they talk slow. They ain't dumb.
No.
All right, they talk a little bit slower.
But life is slower.
I prefer the term methodical.
All right.
All right. James Carville.
Yeah,
the guy's
pretty damn smart guy, if you ask me.
And if you heard him talk, you'd like, oh my God, who's this hillbilly?
Yeah, but he has that little delay. Like he before he opens his mouth, he takes that extra second or half a second to process first. You could tell the wheels are turning in there.
He's piecing it. Show prep, dude. He's piecing the sentence together before he just blurts it out.
Yeah.
He's a Louisiana guy. But it's...
Yeah, he's Louisiana, right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's small, true. A little bitty town in some parish in Louisiana. Southerners have a tendency to take 2-syllable words and make them 3, and take 3 and 4-syllable words and make them 2. Mississippi ain't Mississippi. If you from there, you from Mississippi. Okay?
Okay.
You know, a bell, anywhere else, it's a bell.
Right.
In Alabama, who rang that bell? It gets added on. And you just change the word as the mood seems.
Fascinating. To me, that's what makes America great to me.
Yeah,
the differences and the regional nuances are unbelievable.
Well, that's what they called about the other day. Who's the Butler? Is he one of the coaches? See, I don't have to pay attention to that crap anymore. Butler, one of the coaches for the Steelers. I think that's the one.
Okay.
But those guys called me and said, "Hey, help break this down." All right?
Yeah.
And they played whoever the first guy was, and I'm like, I've never heard of that term. Most Southern terms are one of two things. Almost all Southern terms are one of two things.
Yeah.
They are either wonderfully warm, fuzzy,
Fichtner. Fichtner. That's the offensive coordinator.
Okay. Well, he used the term
a fart in a skillet.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's crap. That's crap.
I never heard of that before.
Right.
Did he make that up?
No, I'm sure he heard it from somewhere. But a Southern phrase like that colloquialism stuff, it's either wonderfully quaint or unbelievably vulgar. And 90% are quaint.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Bless your heart. Have mercy. Those things. Right. Those are quaint. The ones that are vulgar are so grotesque. They don't come up much, but you hear them.
Right on.
All right?
Right.
But then there are others, and then they played Butler's tape, I think it was. And at the end, it's like, dude, where's he from? That's legit. Where's he from? Dadgum and Doll Gang. And
I heard you say that.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
I don't know where that guy was from. They told me where he was from. He's from like 45 minutes from where I was born in Alabama. So he's from not Demopolis or something. And it's like, yeah, that's legit. Whoever that dude was, the fart in the skillet. No, you wouldn't say that.
Well, he was talking about wide receivers that are just like running their routes just very loosely and are all over the place. And he said they're hopping around like farts in a skillet. And the guys on ponying them guys were just laughing their ass off. They like, wait, what did he say?
Yeah. No, that one ain't helping the cause. But the other one with Dagum and Doll Gang and Dagnabbit and Gall Darn and all of those. Those are I told him it's like this is like listening to my uncle yell at me.
Okay, it's part of the lexicon.
Yeah, it's part of the dialect, and it's you got to understand it. And words.
Yeah. You
ain't from Louisiana. You from Louisiana.
Yeah.
Are you from Baton Rouge? Oh. No, I'm from Baton Rouge.
Well, Louisville. It's like one syllable.
Yeah.
Louisville,
1.5.
1.5.
Yeah.
And if you say it wrong, they'll correct you.
Absolutely. Nashville ain't Nashville if you from Nashville. It's Nashville. Just like Louisville. So it's VUL. It just falls off at the end.
My sister-in-law married an Alabaman. They played for Alabama football, I think, and they live down in Atlanta now. And to hear her grow up, and I grew up in this town, so I'm a Pittsburgher.
Right.
And to hear her now adopt the Southern accent after 30-some years.
The little drawl.
But to say the vole, it's like to hear her say like vole. It's mind blowing.
It's not VILLE. It's VUL.
Yeah, vole. Louisville. Yeah.
Louisville.
Yeah. It's just different.
Right.
It's the same, but it's just different.
It's different emphasis. The different emphasis on the different syllable. It's a cultural. It is, man. It's a cultural thing. And the first time, I'm talking about coming to Pittsburgh, my wife's like, "Oh my God, this is what it's like on the East Coast, isn't it? These people, they all talk so fast, and I don't understand. Everybody's rude." I'm like, "Well, no. It's not where you're from.
Right.
You came up in a rural area where everybody." More mellow and slow. It didn't have the pace.
Yeah.
And then not too long after we were here, she went to Philly, and she came back, and she's like, "Okay, you're right. This isn't East Coast. Philly's East Coast."
Yeah. Well, I think we're kind of in a medium bent here, wouldn't you? You've seen it all. I mean, would you agree it's kind of a medium pace here at Pittsburgh? Or are we still on the slower side?
Oh, no. It's at least a medium pace.
Okay.
It's at least that.
Okay.
I mean, there's a whole lot of places.
Well, New York's insane. Boston's insane.
New York is brilliant
Philly.
for 2.5 days.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And 2.5 days in New York, and we did between DVE and ESPN, all a bunch of trips to New York, right? 2.5 days, it's wonderful. By the end of the third day, get me the hell out of here, man. There's too much going on. It was too uncomfortable, too all the time.
Yeah.
Just, and the OCD was really tough to enjoy past the third.
Philadelphia's a weird state. Like I understand
Philadelphia. If God was going to give the world an enema, He would shove it in Philly. People,
I don't argue with you.
People think Always Sunny in Philadelphia is a comedy. No, it's not. It's a documentary. It's a horrible place.
I went back. I will not disagree with you. Sad to say, I have friends there, but they know how I feel. I got my first taste growing up and getting my driver's license, and then immediately driving to the Playboy Casino, which took me through Philly on the Schuylkill Express.
Yeah, the Schuylkill Expressway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it was the most horrific stretch of highway.
Yeah.
Or expressway, or whatever you want to. I mean, and that a 16-year-old driver probably shouldn't be driving his mother's Dodge Omni on.
No, God, dude, you were a target.
There's no question.
I had not been to Philly, and I had since been to Philly. Philly, God love you. It's the most miserable place. Everyone there, every time we had to go to Philly. And this wasn't them blowing us crap because they knew we were from Pittsburgh. These were just people, we're in amongst them living their lives.
Right.
Just miserable, angry people.
Why, though?
I don't know.
Why?
I went there, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia was so much funnier after that, because I realized, my God, these are horrible people. I don't like this show. And I came back from Philly. Oh, now I get it. This is Philly.
They are this. I mean, how can you were in the business?
Yeah.
Are they the worst sports fans in America?
They booed Santa Claus. They cheered Michael Irvin getting a broken neck. Dude. We talk about, if you're going to be an ass, at least take ownership of it. Credit where credit's due. Philly is the worst, and they are very proud of being the worst. And at any opportunity, they will demonstrate how bad they are.
Badge of honor.
They do own it. They really do. Yes, it's a horrible place.
Yeah, Flyers fans are merciless.
I covered a few games there.
Okay, for the Pens.
Yes, playoffs and big games, and yeah.
Now, you were at 1250 ESPN for how long?
5 or 6 years. Me and Junker, and then they changed it up at the end when they fired Mark, and then they moved Junker in with Stan and moved Scott Paulson and Mike Logan and me all into afternoons.
Okay.
Clear as mud.
When you say you moved Mark, you mean talk about Mark Madden?
Yeah, when they fired Mark.
You worked with Mark for a while?
Yeah. I've known Mark since 96.
He probably is the most polarizing in my lifetime.
Right.
For those of us who have paid attention to that stuff.
Right.
He was always polarizing, but I got a chance a couple times to meet him in person, and just not the same person.
Right.
I'm not trying to say he's a wimp or anything. I'm just saying he wasn't the same person.
Mark.
That the persona on TV and radio was.
I'm trying to think of a way to say this to get my point across and not get Mark wound up at the same time.
No, I understand.
I think the world of Mark. I love Mark. There is nothing that I wouldn't do if he asked me. He made my life infinitely easier. I talk about Sean McDowell. Mark was another one. And everything I just said, if I said to him, he'd take a swing at me.
All right.
Yeah,
right on.
There's nothing I wouldn't do for that guy, and that guy made my life. I knew Mark. I didn't know Mark as a wrestling heel or as
yeah.
Mark was the guy. Now remember, coming here now, I'm covering sports. I'm covering hockey. All the crusty old print dudes that are covering hockey, they're giving me the stink eye. One,
sure.
I didn't grow up here. Two,
good point.
I didn't work in print media. Three, I worked at it. What the hell does a rock and roll station? What the heck, right?
That's 3 strikes.
Well, I'm not going to name names. There are 3 or 4 people out of that group that I wouldn't cross the street to pee on their head if their neck were on fire.
Understood. Okay.
They went out of their way to give me crap just because I showed up.
Right on.
And you know what happens if you're treating me like crap. All right, if that ain't going to change, well, now I'm going to give you a reason. Right?
Of course.
Mark was the guy covering hockey, and I didn't, at the time, I knew nothing about hockey. I liked it, and I understood what was going on, not because of hockey, but because the mechanics of it were similar to indoor soccer. So I understood it. Right.
He's a soccer buff too, I think, Mark. Right.
He's a Liverpool guy.
Yeah.
I'm a Man U guy, so don't bring
Christ
that up.
Almighty. Okay.
But Mark
I'm an Arsenal guy, so there you go.
Dude, you guys might get relegated before the season's done.
I know.
We'll hire the guy that used to play for us. He's so good looking. Mark and I didn't know crap about hockey, so I knew. I'm just holding the mic over people's heads. I'm getting sound to chop up, right?
Okay.
But Mark and I would talk, and it was never about hockey. Or it was never about hockey. We talk about English soccer. And there were dudes, and Myron in his own weird way did the same thing. There were guys in that room that hated Mark. Most of it was jealousy. Because, dude, if you want an ego testosterone room, to hell with an NFL. Get a whole bunch of sports writers together.
No doubt.
All right?
No doubt.
But there were guys that, hey, Madden's actually talking to that new guy. Maybe he's okay. Now, there were people that said, oh, Madden's talking to him. He must be a jackass, too.
Got it.
But Mark, he didn't know he was doing that. I was just some new guy that actually showed up that knew, who Kevin Keegan was and knew who those guys were.
Right.
We were talking soccer.
Got it.
Myron did
There's your connection.
Yeah, Myron did the same thing. There were a whole lot of people that didn't want to put up with me, but they'd see Myron talking to me.
Got it.
And, okay, I guess I got it. And
got it.
And Myron,
got it.
Aces.
Yeah.
Yeah, now, was he a mess? Can I tell you some story? Oh, yeah.
I heard of you.
But guess what, dude? Especially that era.
Legend is Tom. Boy.
There was nobody that wasn't a mess.
Yeah.
And that was just standard operating procedure. But,
I understand.
But Myron, for some reason, took a shine to me. That made my life a lot. There were people that tolerated me by not calling me names that would have if they didn't see me sitting with Myron or sitting with Beano Cook at Three Rivers. Well, he's an ass, but I guess I can't say that because
Beano's there.
Beano's there with a plate of bacon. Dude, I watched him. I swear to God.
Someone else told me that too.
Right hand to God.
Those hats you wore, man. And freaking
the hats. I didn't know who Beano. I didn't know Beano was from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he's a
Pitt guy.
Yeah.
All I knew him from was he's the ABC. He's the guy when Army Navy plays.
Right.
He's that guy. He's the dean, right?
Right.
And I get here and I'm sitting. This would have been the Harbaugh days, right? Three Rivers.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting, and it was a 1 o'clock start. 1 o'clock start means they feed the media breakfast. You get sausage, eggs, bacon, that kind of stuff, right? 4 o'clock start, you get different meat. But I'm sitting there, and I don't know nobody. I'm sitting at the table by myself. It's like a bad after school special, right? The lonely sports geek.
That's great.
And at the table,
that's great.
And I found them all later. Myron Cope, Hillgrove is sitting there. I think Quattrini, Steelers PR forever. I think he was there. And it's Beano Cook. And I'm sitting there, I'm freaking out, man. I'm like, that's Beano Cook. Look, you guys, that's Beano Cook. And they're looking at me like, shut up. Yeah, it's Beano. And Beano Cook, right hand to God, on his plate, there was only bacon. And Eric, if it was one piece of bacon, it was 6 inches deep. It had to be 3 packs of bacon on his plate. And at that point, I'm saying, I don't give a crap what Tomzak does. I'm going to watch this old man eat bacon. And that's what I did. He ate bacon from before the game to halftime. He ate an entire plate. No exaggeration, 4 inches deep.
Wow.
It was his stats were so much more impressive to me than Mike Tomzak's at the end of that damn game. But getting to know those guys.
Yeah.
Them tolerating me for whatever stupid reason they decided to, that made my life a lot less crap.
I bet.
And Mark was the same way.
I bet.
And I would give my right arm for that dude.
Yeah.
And he'd punch me in the face with it if I handed it to him. That's who he is, man. I get it. Mark gets it.
Yeah.
Mark gets it. It doesn't matter if you're listening to me punching the dashboard screaming obscenities. You're listening. And his background, the heel stuff with wrestling.
Yeah.
It's a show, man.
It is a show.
It's a show.
It's a show. And he really is in tune with his character.
That's it, man. That's it. And he's not nearly the rat bastard that that he appears to be. He's
Yeah.
capable of being that, and I've seen him genuinely go off.
Yeah.
But as a human being, no, I think the world of him. I think he's brilliant at what he does. He's got the commitment and the chops and the willingness to do the work. But most importantly, he's got the guts to do it. Mm-hmm. All right.
And the venue he's at right now is the X, right? Like,
yeah.
It seems like they give him more latitude, I think, than he's ever seen prior.
I don't know if this is true or not, but I'd be willing to bet you that was decided before Mark ever stared there.
I bet.
I guarantee it.
Yeah, I would think it probably was.
My show's my show, knowing him. And that my situation at BVP, same deal.
I know.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. It's like I'm going to, and if I screw up, I'll be the first to say I screwed up.
Yeah.
But errors of aggression versus errors of complacency.
Right.
If I mess up, it's not going to be because I'm lazy. It's going to be because I'm trying.
Right on.
And if I keep trying, I'll get it right the next time. And it goes back to that trust thing.
Yeah.
If nobody's first job in media is going to be a job where they say, oh, man, you do it however you want to do it.
Got it.
Okay, you basically got to force your way into that with being a pig-headed SOB and being successful.
Well, and for the listeners and those watching the show, you have just taken the position, you've accepted the position of the Teleforum show from 9 to noon.
9 to noon.
Monday through Friday.
AM 1230 WBVP, AM 1460 WBVP, and now 99.3 FM presented by St. Barnabas. That's right.
See, that was a year ago I was saying. I still have it in there.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's little puzzle pieces. You just move the segments around in your head.
Yeah, and this show is this new ground for you in terms of content?
No.
In terms,
well, yeah, in the sense that nobody tells me what I'm supposed to say or not say.
Yeah,
and look, man, you're always going to have somebody say, "Well, you might want to talk about this more or talk about this."
Oh, sure,
that's fine.
Sure.
But I'm never.
You're not micromanaged. That's for damn
I'm
sure.
never told what opinion to have.
Yeah, love that.
All right,
love that.
And I can't lie.
Love
now
that.
you what's the word? You crank up the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm talking about subject A and I believe in whatever subject A is, I believe in it.
Right.
But I believe in it, but it's not that big a deal. Well, that isn't going to convince you to believe in it. If I'm using that as a topic, I better damn well sound like I believe in it.
Right.
And that doesn't come by yelling I believe in it. That comes with the confidence and the presentation and the structure and all that stuff.
Right.
But being told, okay, I think this is bad. Well, you need to say you think this is good. No, I can't. I can't do that. And it's a lie.
Yeah.
And think about this, man. When you were a kid, it's not even that. I mean, yeah, I'll dress it up and say it's because I would never lie to you. That's not what it is. I don't feel like keeping track of the lies.
It's the hardest thing in life. You learn that when you're young, hopefully.
Right. It's if I tell you the truth and piss you off, next time I see you, I'm not going to have to worry about, okay, what did I tell him that didn't piss him off when I wanted to?
Exactly.
And then it gets all hazy.
Exactly.
Just tell the truth, put it on the table, and it's the same thing. I can't tell you, I think this is great if I actually think it's crap.
Right.
Because somewhere down the road, I'm going to say something contradictory, and somebody's going to say, well, before you said it was crap. Now, no.
Yeah.
Tell the truth.
Yeah.
You might crank up the emotion of it just to draw attention to it.
Right.
But you never take a position that you don't at least a little bit agree with.
Got it.
If you can't take a position that you disagree with for the sake of the show, you're doomed.
Yeah.
You're doomed.
I would agree 100%.
Yeah, you got no shot because you can't keep track of the crap yesterday if it wasn't the truth. If I tell you something yesterday, I'm going to think the same thing today.
Yeah. Well, when you believe something and it is the truth, it's natural.
Right.
You can maneuver through life naturally.
Yeah.
There's no stress. There's no anxiety. This is just, it is what it is. I may be wrong, but this is what I believe to be true, and that's why I said it. Yeah,
I can't keep track of the crap.
That's lost on even adults at this at this age that we're at. It's still lost on people. They're still dipping and weaving and maneuvering every day of their life, dodging prior lies. Mm-hmm. Not a good way to live.
Trying to keep. No, you get real busy looking over your shoulder instead of looking forward.
That's all you can do, look over your shoulder.
And that's never good. I almost got into politics. We're not going to do that.
That's all right. No, that's okay. Before we wrap this up, because first off, this has been fantastic. Mm-hmm. I want to get your thoughts on where radio's at today, and what's your thought of new media and yes, internet-based podcast, video podcasting, audio podcasting,
content providers.
Yeah, I don't buy into a lot of the influencers, and I'm a content creator. There's a lot of catchphrase bullshit terms out there, Eddie, that I just kind of laugh at.
If you have to tell someone you're a content provider, you're providing nothing to the content. If you have to announce you're an influencer, you're not.
There you go, man. There you go.
An influencer is somebody that makes other people change their way of thinking by the behavior. You will never make somebody's way of thinking change because you told them to do it.
Right.
It's
the truth.
It's that simple. Now, as far as new media, that's about monetized, dude. That's about money.
Because we're in it, but I'm kind of not in it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not in it. The money part of it, I'm not.
The ratings, it used to be, back in the day, it was about ratings, and it was about average quarter-hour number and time spent listening and all of that stuff, right?
Metrics, right?
Absolutely. And the psychographics and demographics, the little book that you would have to fill out who you listen to, it's not just that anymore.
Okay.
Now, it's how many clicks. Our Facebook. And the only reason that became relevant, the only reason things other than average quarter hour or time spent listening, that's not as relevant anymore. Anytime you have one thing and then you have several other things, that one thing's less important. Okay. Clicks mean billboard on top of the page. That's monetized. Mm-hmm. And it's packaged up to be monetized. We used to only sell commercials for our radio station, but if you buy right now, you'll get commercials for the radio station. We will post stuff on our Facebook page. Look how many clicks we get. Look how many reactions we got. Those numbers are now a part of the economic equation.
Got it.
So right or wrong, how valid they are or not, when money becomes available, when you've monetized something that wasn't valuable to you, it just became valuable to somebody.
Got it.
Okay. The danger is when radio stops being the least important thing that a radio station does.
Okay.
All right? Yeah. There are radio stations that the on-air product is secondary or even possibly tertiary to how many Facebook likes did we get?
Yeah.
That's when you start to lose me on it. At that point, stop saying you're a radio station and say you're a multimedia conglomerate or what the hell ever.
Or a web company.
Or a web company. Or it's all about, and this is heartbreakingly simple and heartbreakingly crass. It doesn't matter how good the product is if there ain't money being made.
Yeah.
All right. Your situation doing this because you love it.
Yeah.
That's not the norm.
Yeah.
You can, and shows being on or not being on are a perfect example of that. I've known radio shows and TV shows that were brilliant, but nobody paid attention to them. Guess what? They go away.
Yeah.
I've known TV shows, dude, turn on network TV. Look, it's stupid people doing stupid crap, and there are judges, and there's one guy in a paper mache. One, they're cheap. Two, people watch them. Yeah. So guess what?
Why? I don't get that.
I don't get it either, but what was it? Religion used to be the opiate of the masses. I'm convinced now it's variety shows.
Yeah.
But if people watch it,
it's to me, this will sound even more crass. It's now, I think it's because we are mentally lazy.
Yeah.
Like, especially when it comes to what we choose for entertainment.
Right.
We're really lazy.
The dumbing down of America can only occur if America says, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. I mean,
and make no mistake about it.
It's just,
if you're stupid, they'll find something for you to watch. They'll find something for you to listen to. If you're smart, it might be a little tougher. And don't take that personal.
Yeah, I get it.
It's easier to sell. P.T. Barnum, no one's ever gone broke underestimating the intelligence of the American public.
Absolutely right.
If garbage sells, and remember, that's the number one thing.
Yeah.
For better or worse. I mean, when it comes to getting paid, that's for better for me.
Yeah.
But if that sells, keep doing that. If a variety show works, why would you hire a staff of writers to write a documentary or to write a
Good point. Good point.
It's cost. It used to be cost per point. Like, how much does it cost to have 1 point of ratings? Now it's how much can we do this show for, and how much can we make?
Right.
And it's no more confusing than that. And if the American people will tell you, dude, they will tell you.
I know, but it's scary that what they're telling us now is the last couple of years is kind of scary.
Okay, it's not scary. It's scary to you because you're not falling in line with that.
Okay.
Your opportunity is it's niche programming.
Yeah.
This isn't programming for dummies like, the world's best singer on TV. And you can get away with charging a little bit more because usually a target audience for a higher scale intellect, it's a little bit higher earning power.
Yeah,
it's a little bit higher, and
they'll pay it.
They'll pay a little bit more. It's a free app versus a $5 a month app.
But we can, as a society, make good programming and interesting things like national. Listen, I know there are bottom lines on all these networks. I get it. I'm not saying that doesn't play the driving force in everything. Mm-hmm. But Nat Geo can make shows about investigative reports going into like drug cartels and really do things. I'm not saying they're of value because that's subjective, but they're doing things that are interesting. They're not there for titillating purposes. They're there to maybe expand the way you view the world or a part of the world you may never experience. I don't need to sit and watch another celebrity who's a celebrity because I'm told they're a celebrity sing with a mask on and me guess who they are. I don't know who the fuck those people are. I don't care. You see what I mean? Like but we can make good programming.
But it's not your dollar they're after.
Okay.
They don't need to be after your dollar. Okay. They've already got enough dollars, and especially if you're comparing, this show makes this much. How much does it cost them to make? It don't cost nothing to make. We ain't got to send anybody with a camera to the Serengeti to shoot a Nat Geo special.
Okay.
We can just have a bunch of guys in Burbank writing up stupid stuff.
Okay.
And world's dumbest home videos.
Most sitcoms, yeah.
And it's how much do you want to put into the product? How much can you get out of the product?
Okay.
There's always going to be something that somebody will go, yay. And if you find a formula for it, no matter if it's dumb or, like you said, it's subjective. Is it entertainment? Not to you.
Right.
Well, all the people that watch it, clearly it is. In their mind, the last thing they might want to do is watch a Nat Geo special or watch a political thriller. Some people want to learn more. Some people want to.
I get it. We're differences.
I watch cartoons. I don't watch anything other than cartoons.
Are you familiar at all with Joe Rogan? So you're familiar with the proliferation of his show? And, okay, so
and selling it to whoever he sold it to.
Spotify for $100 million. I don't begrudge him any of that because to me, he did the long form conversation when it wasn't cool.
Right.
I guess my point is what I love about what we're doing is that we're told that we have to absorb everything in this world via soundbite. We don't do critical thinking much, and we don't make good decisions often because we just grab the sound bites of bits of information and we make decisions.
We read the headline, and the headline told me everything that might pre-exempt.
Yes. Here, it's just the opposite.
Yeah.
But people, I think there's a thirst for long-form, relaxed conversation. People want to eavesdrop in on this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Rogan's proved it, man.
Yeah, there's a voyeur trip to it, but the voyeur trip only works if you get the impression that the people doing it are actually being straight up.
Yeah, like real.
Yeah, if I'm sitting here ranting about whatever and I keep turning to the cameras and giving it a thumbs up, I'm no longer real. You lose that eavesdropping vibe.
Mm-hmm. No agendas, man. That's my thing here. I want the real story.
I want an agenda, but I haven't picked what I want it to be yet. I've been looking for an agenda for 30 years.
Good point. I don't know. I love the medium, but I don't know. We could be doing this 10 years from now, or I might be gone next year. I don't know, but I'll do it on my terms. You see what I mean? I will do it based upon my own terms.
Well, but you're in a position most people aren't. I mean, most people aren't in a position, and I got that when I went on furlough from KD. I had a lot of people. Well, why don't you do a podcast?
Well,
okay,
yeah,
you gonna pay me?
Yeah, you have absolutely. So this is a hobby,
right?
Yeah, no question. I just don't. I don't want a monetary component because of what comes with it. And I think often
expectations from where the money came from, you mean?
Expectations about content. Like if hypothetically,
right.
Let's say XYZ car dealership comes to me a year from now and says, we want to be your sole sponsor. For X amount of dollars, we want you to start the show with our logo and end the show with our logo.
We'll make you a nice sign to hang up.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't want to edit anything. I want the unvarnished conversation.
Right.
They're not going to like that.
Well, but
I don't want to cater to them. See?
Well, but here's the deal. Do what you do. If it gets enough attention, they're going to buy into it, and when they buy into it, you can have those conversations. Well, but it's not pressing in quote unquote the real world. Mm-hmm. You kind of got to play those games. If I go on the air tomorrow at BVP and I say something bad about Shell Cracker Plant,
100%.
Okay,
I get it.
You're in a position. What's that? My give a damn's busted. All right, you ain't got to take the car money.
Yeah.
So that puts you in a position to say, okay, here's what's up. Here's what I do. Mm-hmm. If this gets said, basically explain to them in a really nice way.
That's what Rogan did to Spotify.
I'm taking your money, and I will make sure that people know that you sponsor me, but you have dick all to tell me what to say, what not to say, and you can write it in a contract. And the first time you call me and say, well, the boys in the loading dock didn't care for that, then I'll just tear up your contract.
But that's been happening to Rogan. If you watch that, Spotify's pushing back, but he's like, look, I am what I am.
I told you.
The show is what it is. And
if they think they can get enough juice out of advertising for you, they will. If they're concerned about advertising with you, except when you say something bad, well, then they're wasting your time and you're wasting their money.
Yeah.
To even argue about it.
Yeah.
It's like having. Think of an auto racing team.
Yeah.
If my car is sponsored by STP, that's great, but STP ain't going to tell Richard Petty how to drive the damn thing.
Yeah.
All right. It's like Bernard Hinault said about his sponsors with La Vie Claire, the Tour de France. Sponsors don't ever tell me how to do what I do.
If you got pulled to do that, I got pulled to do that for sure.
That's just it. If you're in a position where you can do that, you gotta. If you're not, then
I think my gig is I want to be interested to talk to who I want to talk to. It has to be interesting to me, or I don't want to do this,
right?
Because I'm not being paid to produce some kind of can show for XYZ firm and send it off to them every week. I don't care. Right. I have no deadlines.
There is a wonderful freedom in financial apathy.
Yeah, good phrase.
Yeah,
take me to school today.
To not have to worry about. Well, we've got to do this show and we've got to get these ratings, and if we don't get the money, and ain't gonna get the.
That's a rat race to me. That would be a full-time job, which I kind of already have that.
Yeah.
I don't want it here, if that makes any sense.
It is a full-time job. It's 24/7, 365. Because I walk around with my day. I'm always. My brain translates it now. I won't see something and go, oh, I got to write notes and talk about that tomorrow. My brain will translate. All right, I can use that tomorrow, or I don't want to use that, or everybody's using that story, and why?
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
Well, and I have friends who have podcasts in town. I've been on a couple of them, and believe me, I support anyone's desire to make it a profitable business. I'm on board. I'm a capitalist. I get it. It's just not for what I want to do, what I want to accomplish here. I don't want to do that.
You're trying to sort out where your line is between art and commerce, dude.
Yeah, I'm heavy on the art right now. Man. The fact that we can come in here and talk unvarnished with no bullshit, I like that. And no one telling me I can't swear, I can't say that.
That can be your art, But you've got to understand that will put off some of the potential comers. And if you've made your peace with that, right on. And that's sellable too.
Things could change down the line.
Yeah. Establishment is sellable, but so is anti-establishment.
Yeah, good point. Well, yeah, good point. It's a very good point.
There's no keyboards on that record, and when that record came out, everything had keyboards.
There's no bass on that record. Do you know that? He played the sixth string on the electric. Like he plucked the sixth. They multi-tracked because Vicious is not on there. There's only there's 3 people on that record.
It's a crap record that needed to exist.
Polish the turd, man.
It needed to exist.
That's what they did.
It's not like I'm not going to go home and go, I feel like jamming God Save the Queen.
I might.
No, when my music, if I'm riding my bike with the headphones, it's pretty rockin' stuff.
Yeah,
but if
right
I'm
on.
just hanging out at home, it's almost all words. Yeah. I'm in a huge Bare Naked Ladies retro mood.
Yeah.
Those guys are
That's
hysterical. And
Good
it's
stuff.
poppy as hell.
Yep.
But
it's okay.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with pop.
That's
if it's
okay.
good pop. Nick Cave, all that stuff. Oh, yeah.
Nick Cave. I still get that haunting early 2000s Volkswagen commercial. Do you remember that? He used one of his songs.
Did they really?
Oh, go back and look at that on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, good stuff.
I say, when you see a song from your youth that you thought was super cool and it shows up on a commercial, or part of me is, what the hell are you guys doing? But then the business part of me is, all right, man, you made a couple bucks for that.
Absolutely right.
Vampire Weekend, right on. You made way more on commercials than you ever will, selling records.
Buddy, I appreciate it. I thank you for giving me so much time. This was awesome.
Was it okay?
Amazing.
You're going to edit out where I said booger?
No, I'm not editing anything.
Booger.
Come back and see me?
Yeah.
For sure?
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I got a free hat. I got 3 free hats.
Well, I want to. Here's a little radio thing. If you say it on air, sometimes you can press the issue, right?
Headwear Talks. Yeah. What?
I'd like to get a couple of you DVE alumni on here. I wouldn't mind. I'd love having you and Chris, maybe you and Sean. I'd like to do an individual show with Sean. I'd like to do some things with some other folks from that station.
Yeah.
Because it's important. You know why? It's fascinating to me. It's part of the landscape of my life as a music appreciator in Pittsburgh. And you folks, got stories.
Chris has been on. Scott is in Fredericksburg.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
We're gonna try to work that out on his trips back here.
Zoom meeting his ass, man.
I don't know if I want to do that. There's something organic and visceral.
Oh
about
no,
this.
that's true.
Do you think?
Yeah. Oh no, it's very different. There's
patient.
There's a connection that you don't get by looking at a screen. That's why if you've got to do an interview, phone interviews suck.
I know.
Yeah, it's like, here's the list of questions, and you're going to pause. And there's no body language to read as you're talking to the person. You can't see their reaction visually to what it is. McDowell?
Yeah.
You got to get Sean. I
would love to have Sean. I want to do a one-on-one with him. But as you notice, there's 2 other seats here.
Right.
They have a couple of you at the same time telling war stories, and rock. That would be a blast. I would welcome anything.
I can tell you the story about the time Michelle Michaels made an intern cry. Chris told me a story about me that I had forgotten about.
Love that Michelle on.
I was talking to Chris a couple nights ago on the phone. She goes, "You remember that time Smash Mouth took your pants?" I'm like, "What?"
Wait, what?
The lead singer from Smash Mouth took my jeans and didn't come back with my jeans.
Holy shit!
At the Brickyard, we went out Brickyard 400 in Indy.
Yeah.
And I had no recollection of that at all.
Wow.
She's like, "Dude, you remember when the Smash Mouth stole your jeans?" I go, "No, I don't." Yeah, they wanted to go, and you had to have jeans to go into the pits, and we had pit. So the guy borrowed my jeans and just never came back.
Wow.
It's like, Chris, all I remember the ribeye steak sandwiches at the booth right next to where we were parked. And I remember it took us forever to get home, but I don't remember anything about my jeans. She goes, "You remember when Richard Simmons slapped you?" And I said, yes, that one I remember.
How could you forget that?
Richard Simmons slapped me, and I deserved every bit of it. I offered him a pack of Pop-Tarts. He was deeply upset.
Come back and see me, buddy.
Anytime. I'll wear my short 70s Richard Simmons disco exercise.
I'm counting on that.
All right, Ed. Dude, it just got weird quick.
Thank you, buddy. Friends, we're out.
Where am I waving?
Over here. There's cameras everywhere.